Hi, everybody. I'm George, and welcome to another Spotlight episode of BLHHiP. We're back with returning guest Kevin Bartelt from the Flagrant family. What's up, bud?
Hey, man. How's it going? Thanks for having me back.
Very, very excited to have you here. We're talking about not just another video game episode, which is exciting enough on its own, but we're talking about a game I already loved going into this. It's The Last of Us Part 2. I'm curious to hear about if you just generally play a lot of video games, how much of that is horror games, and specifically Naughty Dog. I mean, I'm curious if this was something that you came to and were like, oh, wow, this company is great, or if you've been playing their games for a while.
I just need to let the listener know before I answer this layup of a question, which I appreciate. I'm so excited and chill for this recording. I'm going from standing desk to sitting desk.
Wow.
That's how I know I'm going to get comfortable. Although I noticed I went from sitting position directly into the sunlight, so I'm going to move a little bit. But that's how excited I am to be here. I'm like, oh, I'm getting comfortable.
Time to kick back.
I love video games. I've had a on and off experience with them, but have been pretty much on for the last 6 years. Basically, I played a lot as a kid, like Nintendo 64, GameCube, PlayStation, Xbox was kind of my 1998 to 2010, I would say, maybe 98 to 08, something along that line. My junior year in high school, I had a come to Jesus moment where I went, wait, I should totally stop playing video games. Like, I shouldn't do that. That's like nerd shit. I'm cool. And I was in the marching band, by the way. I don't know why I was in this type of denial with myself. So then I go to college, don't really play video games, move to LA. My first or second year in LA, all of my friends are playing video games. And I'm like, yeah, why am I acting like this isn't me? The one that I think got me back in was Breath of the Wild, which I'm sure got a lot of people back into video games. So I bought I think I used a Nintendo Wii U, which is so corny and cringy. I think I had it on the Wii U. Ugh. But I loved Breath of the Wild. Wait, can you have Breath of the Wild on the Wii U? Is that possible?
Yeah, it was cross-platform. It was like one of the first Switch games. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
No way. I had to get a Switch. I don't know. Honestly, I don't remember. But I got Breath of the Wild, and I got really into that and was like, I think I might be back. There was one moment, though, where I specifically was like, okay, I'm back with a capital B. I went to my friend Harry's place, who at the time lived in New York City, and now is in LA, and now is doing this massive video project with me. He's the star of it. And I stayed at his place, and he was in a basement like in Brooklyn, and he didn't have a TV, but he did have a projector on his wall. And we smoked pot, and he said, do you want to play God of War? And I was like, oh, yeah, I kind of remember playing those in junior high. Specifically, I remember pausing whenever my dad's friend came in because there were so many like sex scenes. And he caught on and went, how come every time I walk in, you pause the game? And I was like, I don't know, Mr. Ryan. I think I just I get so tired with these games. And he was like, okay. But we played the 2018 God of War on his projector, stoned. And I was like, I think I went home and bought a PlayStation like the next week, a PS4.
Yeah, that one will do it. That game is so gorgeous and so immersive. Yeah.
And I've been loving Ragnarok too. I beat Ragnarok. So that got me back in. So I went home the next week, bought a PS4, bought Amazing Spider-Man, I loved. And then my intake of video games, I felt mentally like I was like, I have to make up for the last 8 years that I've missed.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing the work. And yeah, I was playing a lot. I should just turn on and go through my library. But yeah, so I was playing a lot. And then I think even like in the last 3 years as well, befriending your friend of your show, Matt Apodaca, who is the co-host of Get Played, an incredible video game podcast. That was getting me back into video games. A few friends getting me back into video games. Really and I'm sorry, I'm talking way too long.
No.
What really did it for me with God of War and was why I picked this game for today was the storytelling. I was so captivated by what was happening with Kratos and Atreus that I was like, I got goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps right now talking about it. I was just so thrilled at what was happening, and it was emotional, and I had never had an experience like that before playing a video game. And so once I was seeing like, oh, these are like movies, basically. You're like playing a movie now.
Yeah.
So that became a thing that I kind of really looked for when purchasing a video game, was like, is the story good?
Yeah.
Because I will crush a game that has a great story.
Yeah.
Apologies for the listeners that I see I'm at minute 7 right now. That was crazy.
No. I asked for the backstory and I got it.
and you got it, man.
I love that. I think that you're absolutely spot on in terms of the increased budget for video games and getting like really great voice actors.
Totally.
And making it so that you can fully immerse into that cinematic story is something that has only been able to happen really because of the graphics and everything. I mean, like, look, I love a lot of like pixel games. I love a lot of old school stuff, but it's just harder to like put yourself in those games, especially going back to them. You know, I remember at the time you're like, this is the best video games we'll ever look. I can't
absolutely.
believe.
That first Super Smash game, I was like, this is it. I was telling my girlfriend Leah about, you know, for Halloween was like, and we talked about, I hope I'm not repeating myself, but we talked maybe about this when I did your show last about like horror movies and stuff, and jump scares really scare me. And Leah said, where did that come from? And I said, oh God, I was 8 years old and I played this video game that had a jump scare and it really messed me up. And she said, what was it? We have to watch it right now. I said, oh God, it's called Banjo-Kazooie. There's this witch that kind of like appears. Also, I also said Mario 64, like when Bowser's like, ho, 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 came on the screen. That I think is a little more fair. I showed her, I'll send it to you, this clip of the witch in Banjo-Kazooie.
Grunty.
Yes, it's way more funny than it is scary, but I was 7 and I was like, I got that game for my birthday. I played it that day. I put it back in the N64 box and handed it back to my mom and said, you need to put this in the closet. You need to I'm not ready. I literally said, I'm not ready for this.
Yeah, this should be rated M for mature.
Yeah, not B for babies. Right. So I was horrified by that. So to your point, it's funny seeing the stuff that scared me as a kid. I'm like, how did this is 4-bit.
Yeah. The childlike imagination does a lot of work.
Yeah.
But that cinematic aspect has always been what's appealed to me about Naughty Dog in particular.
Absolutely.
Uncharted 2 is probably one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah.
It's like that and Tetris. I like go back and forth on.
So I bought the first 3 were in a bundle. Maybe the first 4. Did you see that? It was like last year, it was like you could get 3 of them for $20 or something.
Yeah, a bargain.
So I got them and I played. I think I got like halfway through the first one. And everyone told me on Twitch, like, just go to the second one, go to the second one. And I was like, I want to see the whole story. But then I was like, I should have listened to people, because then I got halfway through and was like, I think I'm going to switch to something else. And then I never went back to it. But I do know that like it's an incredible franchise, and 4 is really good too, right? Like, isn't that the one really that was kind of the breakthrough, or was they all were?
I mean, I really, except for 1, I actually do agree that 1 is by far the worst one.
I was enjoying it. It was kind of fun. I was watching old God of War footage last night of like God of War 3, and it is funny seeing like the graphics and stuff. But so maybe I should just jump to Uncharted 2. I still have it on my console.
I would say watch the cutscenes of 1.
Yeah, that's what everyone said.
Still a fun story, but then the 2, just so many quality of life improvements, so many amazing like giant set pieces, which I know that's kind of what Naughty Dog does, is they have these big spectacle moments that really kind of take your breath away. And 2, 3, 4 is great. The Lost Legacy, which is that the one where it's like kind of like a side mission between 2 villains from different entries. They just like team up to do treasure hunter stuff.
Yeah.
It's like just super fun, super actiony. And so when The Last of Us came out, I remember being like, holy shit, this is like the best game of all time. It is so incredible storytelling. It was so groundbreaking. It was so intense.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is going to be spoilers for not just 2, but also we're going to assume that you know the story.
I can't believe it was 2013.
We're
coming up on a
to
10-year anniversary of this game.
absolutely insane. And I remember the first moment when the daughter dies in that like at the like checkpoint.
Shocking. Yeah.
It was such a gut punch.
Yeah.
And it still holds that impact for me. And so it was just so nice to have it be taken, all of the things that I liked about Uncharted, taken in this new direction that was, even though it was fantastical, it was a little more grounded. Like, they weren't always cracking wise and everything. It had that sort of serious drama film feeling to it.
Yeah. Did you play it when it came out? I got Last of Us like a month before Part 2 came out.
Oh, man, that was probably fun, just rolling it right in. Yeah, I actually did play it when it came out. Me and my buddies, this is when I was in college.
Yeah.
And so we just played in the house that we all shared. And we would, like, make sure that we timed it up so that people were there like at the every time. Like, they were just watching when I was playing. And so it was basically like a movie for them for the first time that they experienced
and
it.
I guess we should say it is being adapted into a TV show that comes out in January. So I am really excited about that. I'm nervous, to be honest. Like, so many of these, I feel like adaptations are hit or miss, but I don't know. I mean, this story is so good, and it sounds like Druckmann and maybe some other people are involved. So I don't know.
It did seem interesting.
Yeah.
Good cast.
I am definitely going to watch it. Even if it's bad, I'll probably watch every episode. Yeah, good cast too. But yeah, that first game, the stuff with the daughter, you're like, oh, surely this will all work out. And then you're like, oh, Jesus Christ. It's first one's incredible. I had a lot of fun. Playing it. And again, I don't like horror video games, but that story was just like hooking me in. It's wild. Yeah, Naughty Dog does some cool stuff.
And the horror's not omnipresent.
Yeah, it's not like Resident Evil or something.
Yes, exactly. It gives you enough of a breather here and there where you can like relax and take a step back.
I'm outside.
Yeah, exactly. And for that to be followed up by The Last of Us Part 2, which I think is an incredible success. I think that to follow up one of the best games of all time with something that hits the same watermark and possibly exceeds it in a lot of ways. You know, not only the complexity of the story, but also just a lot of the gameplay mechanics feel incredible in this game.
Yeah.
Things that are a natural result of playing as Ellie as opposed to Joel. Things that are, you know, just like the improvements in AI as the game got made. All sorts of things that just work to create this incredible cohesive experience that feels like a natural evolution of the first one.
I feel the same way about, and I hate to keep comparing these two games because they're wildly different games, but I do think they're similar. I was just talking to someone about this last week of fatherhood is now a genre between God of War and Last of Us and a few other games. I heard on a good podcast, Triple Click, I think it was them. Or no, it was Weiger on Get Played. Sorry, listener. I think he was saying like, oh yeah, well, these writers were like toxic masculine guys who wrote this stuff. So all the stuff that they wanted to do was like kill, kill, kill. And now they're like struggling fathers. And so they're just writing what they know.
Yeah.
Which is funny. And, you know, who knows if that's true or not. But my point was seeing Ellie grow up is shocking, you know, just like seeing Atreus grow up too is kind of shocking. Is not maybe the right word, but it's like, oh, this person's an adult now, and like they are making their own decisions, and they are an individual.
Yeah,
it's kind of chilling to like watch that development, like in a cool, badass way. I feel just like seeing her and Joel, and like in what ways they've changed and what ways they've stayed the same is. Yeah. It's real life, you know, like it's like when you see someone you went to school with and you're like, holy shit, you know,
I haven't checked in 4 years.
Yeah. You're the same guy, but you're a little different now, you know? So, yeah, I'm curious about how you felt, because I also love, and I feel this way about music too sometimes, when I feel like when bands release, besides King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, they're the only exception. When bands release too many like albums, we do an album every year. I'm like, guys, spread it out a little bit. But I also understand if someone was like, make a podcast once a month, I'd be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
But I like the huge gap between 1 and Part 2 here. Like the 7-year gap, I feel like realistically so much like has changed. And so I like I don't know. I'm just kind of a sucker when it's like, oh, that thing that you liked 10 years ago, it's back. Versus like the thing you liked 6 months ago, they're going to show a little bit more.
I totally agree. First of all, I totally agree that King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard is allowed to put out as many albums as they like.
I will listen to all of them. Yep.
Changes is like in my top 3. Like
man.
The most recent one.
Yeah.
They're still pumping them out incredible. So
yeah. Their KEXP performance they just dropped too was really good too.
Oh yeah. Oh
They're
my
crushing
God. It was so great. They really are. But I also agree that it helps the game to not feel the pressure of having that gas pedal on.
Yeah.
You know,
mm-hmm.
We get to have checked out and now check back in and see the ripple effects of this. It gives the writers a little more freedom to expand the world instead of having to be like, how can we keep escalating this exact situation?
Absolutely. It definitely gives them more, like, I think, creative freedom to do whatever they want. Also, playing this game, and I felt the same way about Death Stranding, and I'm definitely not the first person to make this observation, but playing these games in like the thick of COVID is so fucking horrifying. Like, it's like, is this what reality is going to be like? But you feel safer, but not much safer. Like, the inner conflict you feel playing the game is another thing too, especially like this game came out in 2020. You know, I'm sure they were making this, they started probably making this in like 2016 or something.
Yeah.
And probably, you know, making a game and then a global pandemic happens that like is a little off, but not drastically off. So it's wild playing these games as you're literally locked in your home. Surreal in many ways.
I remember they had to change, or they didn't have to. They chose to change. The release day was called Outbreak Day.
Oh.
And they changed it to Last of Us 2 Day.
That's a smart move.
Yeah. I remember being like, yeah, that checks out. Like, they literally had to push the release of this game because of COVID.
Wow. Yeah.
They really got slammed by it. I'm sure working on it was also insane, being like, all right, everyone go home and just keep working on this pandemic game.
Oh, man. I am curious about, I mean, I think Naughty Dog is famous for, what's the word? When people get like overworked in the video game.
Crunch?
Crunch, yes. They've gotten called out a lot for crunch. I am curious if like, and I would have no idea. I don't know. I don't have any connections to people that work in video games, but they got dragged pretty hard for crunch, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's crunch with this game. I am curious if like they have adjusted at all after being very publicly dragged for bad like work hours, or maybe they haven't. I don't know. And you know, that's also like a good, a thing to note that with these big budget AAA games, a lot of the reason why they look so phenomenal is there are hundreds and hundreds of people working like 90-hour weeks and getting like very minimal sleep, which sucks. There was a game recently that they were able to say, hey, we're like one of the few AAA games that everyone, you know, worked like a 40-hour week. Like that was kind of, and like that's how they were able to brand it, and people were like, that's fucking awesome. I don't know. So, and who even knows if that's true, but you know, still cool.
I agree. And it's the same kind of thing where it's, I mean, like so many entertainment jobs where
totally
so many people are doing it out of love for the medium. And so they kind of get taken advantage of by people who are less in it for love of the medium and higher up and make those decisions.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's definitely frustrating. I did see that they were specifically called out for this game. I hope that they are changing, because it's not, the beauty of the games is not worth the exploitation of
absolutely.
The employees.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Everyone should unionize. Anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
Except cops. Fuck cops. Oh, keep going.
That's like a unique case.
They're the King Gizzard of unions.
Yes. The exception that proves the rule. Yes, exactly. Before we get too much into the actual context of the game, one last question I just wanted to get was, what is your play style in these games? Like, do you sneak around? Do you rush in guns blazing?
It's problematic. My friend just yelled at me about the way I play video games, and I don't think he's wrong. But then I told someone what he said, and he was like, you can play video games however you want. With story games like this, I know there's a right answer, which is explore the world, live in it, you know, see all of the cool things about it, take your time, have fun. I did this with Breath of the Wild, with God of War, and with both of these games, with a statistic that will alarm you. I beat The Last of Us Part 2 in 2 days.
Wow.
I started it at 10 a.m. on a Friday and played from 10 a.m. till 10 p.m. And then Saturday, I played it from noon and finished the game at 2 a.m. on Sunday. So some have said I have like an addictive personality, and I say it's pretty, focused. Mm-hmm. It very much happens with a video game that I like. Same thing with God of War, same thing with Horizon Zero Dawn. And so the way I play is I plow through the story and I beat the game. I play it on the easiest setting and I plow through because I just want to know the story, really. Then I will go back and play it a second time. I'll do a New Game Plus and I will explore every aspect of it. I kind of just want to know what happens, but I don't want it spoiled to me. So I don't go on Twitter. I try to not see reviews at all. God of War comes out. I'm like, I'm playing it. Don't talk to me about it. I don't want to know what you think about it. And then once I beat it, I'll text friends and be like, what everyone think, Then I'll read reviews and stuff. But the way I have played video games in the last decade has typically been, not always. I can't beat every video game in 2 days, but this was one of the few that I did where I was so hooked that I was like, I don't care at all about right now. I don't care about any of the side quests. I don't care about upgrading weapons unless I have to. I just want to know what happens at the end. So I will mainline the campaign, beat it, and then go back and occasionally, like with the 2018 God of War, I'll platinum it. Or with like a few other games, I will do every single side quest, collect every single thing until I 100% it. But, when I told my friend this, he said, what do you think about God of War Ragnarok? I said, I beat it. And he was like, it just fucking came out. And I was like, I know, I played it in like 4 days. And he went, I hate the way you play video games. So part two is an extreme. I don't think I've ever beaten a game in 2 days.
Especially, this isn't a short game.
No. Playing it on the easiest setting possible helps. And I also don't think I'm a good video game player, which made Twitch stressful but fun because I was like, I think people were like, what is he doing? Like, how does he not see the flags right there? To answer your question, plow through for the story, then go back and see the 90% of stuff that I missed because I actively wasn't looking at it.
I totally get that. It's funny. I am kind of the opposite in that I crawl.
I think most people are, though. I think most people are like, they don't have the squirrel from Ragnarok being like, come here, you asshole, stop ignoring. People literally NPCs swearing at you, stop ignoring me. I think you play it how most people play video games, which is probably the way developers intended to.
Well, it was becoming its own issue for me in that when I was doing, so I had beat this game when it came out, and then I was playing it again for this podcast. And while I was playing it again, I was like, oh, I'm going too slow. I'm not going to finish in time if I don't hurry up. So I had to kind of go a little, but it kind of worked because ordinarily I play very stealthy. I'm very conserve as much ammo as possible. Sneak through, take your time.
Yeah.
But with this, I got to kind of just go in guns blazing.
Yeah.
Which is not my usual play style. And it was fun and it worked. And I got a different fun experience out of the game by playing this different way. So I think that it is kind of cool that even if there is one that's maybe more intended by the developer, they both clearly are working. It both creates this incredible experience.
That's another reason why I liked this game is I don't typically like stealth games. I don't really have the patience for them, but this game was so good that I was like, I can't just run in guns blazing at every single level because I'm not good enough of a gamer to survive every single level like that. And so I think this game I can credit to teaching me how to be a better stealth player and like how your patience can like be rewarded for that. So
Definitely.
even though I try as much as typically how I played this game was I'd run into a level, try to shoot everyone, and the zombies would kill me. Then I'd go in a second time and then go, wait a second, and then would slide through. So I would have to learn from my mistakes over and over again. But
they got your ass.
Yeah, stealth. I wish I had more patience for stealth, and on a good day when I'm well rested, I like to think I do, but yeah, sometimes I'm just like, let's go. I think it's another reason why God of War is fun, because I'm just like, yeah, here's my whips, baby.
Yeah, Kratos he's not sneaking around.
Here's the Blades of Chaos. Yeah, this game's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So aside from the developers at Naughty Dog, there were actually 14 outsourced studios as well working on The Last of Us Part 2,
wow,
amassing a workforce of over 2,000 employees and 163 people granted special thanks in the credits.
That's wild.
So, it was announced in 2016. Neil Druckmann was back as creative director with Anthony Newman and Kurt Marganow as co-game directors and Amelia Schatz and Richard Cambier as co-lead game designers.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the actual story, though, Neil Druckmann was doing a lot on that, as well as Haley Gross. She'd written 2 episodes of Westworld Season 1, and she was brought on to assist Neil in the writing process pretty early. The structure was in place for the story, but she helped flesh out the characters, make their voices believable, and she did become the narrative lead 2 years into development.
Wow.
And sort of what we had talked about, they were worried about having made something great and then risking going back and spoiling it. So the test was to make sure that they had a story that could stand on its own with meaning and weight, but also be additive so that there's an even bigger narrative that was also honest and respectful to the next moves the characters would make. And to that end, both stories, Last of Us 1 and Last of Us 2, are about love.
Yeah.
And what Neil had to say is that it's about the best and the worst that love has to offer.
Wow. That's so fucking powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, and to highlight something you said too, having a Westworld writer come in and work on this, like there is no Westworld writers working on Banjo-Kazooie. Not to shame my favorite childhood games, but that was it. Like the emotion is like pulling me. You know what I mean? Like I'm not used to turning on my video game controller and then going like, I might cry tonight.
Get the tissues ready, sweetie.
But yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, 14 production companies too is wild. But it's cool, you know, the story just pulls you through this.
Absolutely. And to that end, Kurt Marganow said that they always wanted to have Ellie and Abby both involved in the story here. He said, quote, "The core premise of the entire story was to see both sides like this. To have a revenge tale told both from the perspective of someone who's on their way to doing it and as someone who's already done it. Can they redeem themselves? Seeing Abby have to find meaning again after she's already done the thing she wanted so badly, that was such an interesting contrast for us to have these two different but similar story told. That to us was always the structure, two halves of the same thing. And yeah, I love having these two characters that are such like mirror images, these flip sides of the same coin. And it's not necessarily in the easier way to do it, where one of them is flexible and bending in the wind. Like, they are both hard-headed, determined, but they're still complete opposites despite their similar traits. And that's what makes them such great rivals. It works so well.
Absolutely. Honestly, I loved that. I know some people like did not like going back and forth between each character. They just wanted to play as Ellie the whole time. But to me, it was fun because both stories were moving at the same time. And I know TV is different than video games, obviously, but like, it's just, I like when I'm like watching the season of White Lotus, there's like 6 different plots and that you just see each one moving forward a little bit. And it's fun seeing like, okay, we're going to end this scene on a cliffhanger and then move this one up a little bit and then go back to this one and move this one up a little bit. Like, I know that's just like basic storytelling for a lot of people, but I liked that in this AAA game, we're going back and forth between these rivals and like seeing where their choices lead them. That was fun to me.
And jumping around in time and everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it's cool.
I liked it. Yeah.
I agree. I think it's cool. And it's interesting to me that I do like it here because ordinarily part of my issue with prequels as a general rule is that part and parcel lack of dramatic tension because you know where it winds up.
Totally.
And with this game, I thought it was really interesting that even though I knew where things would end up, like once you get to Ellie's sort of culmination, like the first culmination, and she kills them, she kills Owen and Mel in the aquarium. And then you go to the beginning of Abby's story. And instead of feeling like there's no dramatic tension, because we didn't see her reaction to that, the whole time we're waiting, and to have to go through the 3 days again, knowing that that's at the end of it, creates this pit in your stomach. It's so powerful. It's so effective here.
Which is why I wanted to plow through, because I was like, just fucking get it over with. And they're like, do you want to do this? And I was like, no, I just want to just get the thing done with.
It totally works here.
Also, I know I'm sounding like a hardcore gamer. I will say the first 5 minutes, I did lose the snowball fight. So just to set everyone's like expectations, this is what we're working with.
Hey man, those kids are feisty.
They are. I was like, bitch, slow down. Hold on.
The themes were inspired by Druckmann's own youth in the West Bank.
Wow.
He talked about the Ramallah lynching from 2000, where after 2 weeks in which over 100 Palestinians, nearly a dozen of them minors, had been killed, 2 Israeli army reservists accidentally drove the wrong way and got taken into custody in that town.
Oh my God.
And the people who were in mourning thought that they were undercover agents and broke in to kill them extremely brutally, according to reports.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah. And Neil said that he watched the footage of cheering crowds and he had started to like plan violent revenge of his own before feeling gross and guilty about them. And he said that he wanted the player to feel both that same thirst for revenge and then reckoning with the way it made you feel.
Yeah.
And I think that this game really creates an incredible environment for it because while ordinarily these stories of revenge are constrained by someone being like, okay, that's it, I'm going to work outside the law now to do this. This is a world where those societal structures just don't exist. There is no like law to get in the way.
There's no cops.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just a really fertile soil for exploring that idea. I think that they absolutely killed it.
Yeah, me too. You're right. I didn't really think about it that way. That is like, they are in an apocalypse, so like there are no rules.
Right.
Having these extremely complex, modern, like back and forth, I don't know, dynamics, I guess. I don't know a better word for it. With the base of there's also no rules is so fascinating.
Definitely. This also leads me to something that I found interesting. I've seen people complain about the dogs and say, oh, they say it's asking you to make a choice about if you kill them or not, but that the game actually forces you to. And so that sort of invalidates its message of, you know, isn't it crazy that violence is what is beget by this?
Yeah.
And first of all, I'm not positive that that's the case in the first place because I am pretty sure that I saw dogs just hang out by their dead owner depending on what order you got them in.
Yeah.
But then even if that is true, for the character, it's not true in the sense that you could simply put the game down.
Yeah.
like, you're invested in it in Ellie's perspective.
Yeah.
And so you're willing to do something distasteful to get revenge for the character you liked.
Yes.
And it's also funny to me just that, like, at that point, you're already mowing down lots of humans, too.
Yeah.
So it's funny that, like, that's where the buck stops for a lot of people. Like,
yeah.
The graphics in this game, you look down, people's faces are craters.
Yes. They're absolutely annihilated.
Yeah. So I'm curious what you think about this idea of just people being like, the spirit of its theme exploration is sort of invalidated by it forcing you to make these violent decisions.
I know what you're talking about. I did see complaints about that. I mean, there's a lot of complaints about the game. Some of them just straight up homophobic and sexist, but others like I'm forced to do things against my will and I don't feel like the consent of this, which is obviously like the intent is like not wanting to do something like this.
Oh, it made you feel something.
Yeah. But I mean, I think you could just circle back to like, I think part of why it didn't like upset me was like just what we just said of like, there are no rules in this. And I think it comes back to also like, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, these are like morally, for the most part, like Ellie and Joel are like morally sound people. They like, Joel basically kept like a apocalypse going to save Ellie. Is like, sorry to spoil the first one. So like, that's how much he cares about this person. And like,
Yeah.
obviously she cares a lot about him too. And so I'm basically saying like, hey, if you're a good person, you can do bad things, but there's no rules, and there's so much just like survival here. And you see these characters make 1,000 good decisions and save 1,000 people that, I don't know, with some of the decisions or like the extremely gruesome ways they kill these zombies. I don't know. It doesn't really bother me because it's just like, I guess if it was just like if we were in like today's time and she was doing things like this, I'd be like, Ellie, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, there's people around. Like, this is not how you're supposed to act. But I don't know, that stuff, it didn't really bother me because like I like these characters. And so I think I forgave things that maybe I normally wouldn't forgive in other games because I felt empathy, I guess, toward them. And so, yeah, with stuff. And like, I'm a vegan. Like, I am extremely pro animal rights. And like, I don't even want to ride a horse, which is actually, hard for this game. But it's a fucking video game, Kevin. You're not actually on the horse, like you just said. But people complaining about this, I'm like, dude, to me, I was like, it's a video game, man. Like, relax.
I absolutely agree. I will also say that I think that part of what you're saying about what it did in terms of, they're allowed to do these things because I like them.
Yeah.
Like, that's, I think, part of what they're trying to accomplish here, because, it's so funny and like fucked up that at the beginning, they make you play again as like sad old man Joel.
Yeah.
He's promising to teach Ellie to play guitar. He's filled with regret. He can't remember a joke at the beginning. And then when you're playing from the perspective of the Fireflies / wolves, he's this big, bad, mythical villain.
Yeah.
And you see sort of how the perspective is flavored by your environment and whose perspective you are invested
Absolutely.
in. So I think that it absolutely totally works for me.
And here's the thing. It's like, we've spent a lot of this discussion talking about how emotionally captivating the storytelling is in this game and how truly moving it is in a way that like very few pieces of media have been. And then I said like 2 minutes ago, it's just a video game, relax. Here's the thing. Both of those things can be true. It doesn't always have to be like, oh, so if it's a video game, relax, well, then the story's not good. It's like, no, you can feel on the verge of tears, and then also minutes later be like, it's a game, like who cares?
Yeah, it is emotionally honest, even if you understand that it's just virtual stuff.
Yeah,
I will say, I'll do a little reveal here, is that I one time was playing, I had been playing a lot of Monster Hunter World when that game came out.
Yep.
And one day I just like smoked, I guess, too much weed for that game. And I was like, man, these poor monsters are just trying to walk around, live their
They're
lives.
Just doing their thing, man.
I literally put that game down and never picked it up again. I was like, I smoked too much and ruined this game for myself.
Yeah. This sucks, man.
Yeah. So look, you can just put down the game if you don't consent to it. If killing the dogs in this game made me feel bad enough, then I would put the game down.
Yeah.
Clearly. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think that it's accomplishing something for the game.
There's so many games too where it's like various animals are like wolves in God of War are killing you, and it's or in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which I just finished. Like same thing. If you don't attack the wolf, it will kill you.
Right.
Kill or be killed, I guess.
Right. I will also just park the discussion by saying it's 25 years after the outbreak.
Yeah.
When we join Last of Us 2, Ellie is still just 19. Which it can be kind of hard to remember. Like there are so many tough decisions she's had to make, forced maturation in many aspects of her life. But then you do get this immaturity shining through latently through other aspects of her personality.
Yeah.
And I think that feeling that like youthful anger helps to understand the drive of the story. I'll talk about it at the end, but there is a moment where I'm like, for me personally, I understand this is not the story that they were trying to tell, but it would have been more satisfying from a storytelling perspective if it ended here. Doesn't even need to have other stuff happen. If it just ended at this point, I would have maybe liked that more.
Can I guess it? Was it the rocket ship Imagination?
No, that would have been good, but it's well, I'll save it since you didn't get it right. But I understand that because it is that youthful rage driving her.
Yeah.
That's why she feels no choice but to keep going and to always have to make these sacrifices, this duty that she feels to the memory of Joel.
Yeah.
It feels like a young man's game.
Totally. And she's fueled by being pissed off and also like wanting people to like, be at her level. There's just a lot of like, come on, let's fucking go. Like, what are you waiting around for? And, when you've seen like loved ones and like a million people die and you're a survivor, and her philosophy is, it seems like if they catch us sleeping, we're done. So like, if we're not on our toes, we need to constantly be moving. Otherwise we will die. And then she is not surrounded, but there are other characters like her love interest and stuff, for example, that's like, slow down. Like, I understand why you feel this way, but we can't live exclusively like this because we're basically surviving to have a horrible life.
Right. Yeah. You'll burn out if you stay at that pace.
Yep.
And the gameplay needs to put you in her shoes so that the emotional story beats work. Not just feel the pressure of survival in this world, but also how she really can't breathe after Joel is ripped from her.
Yeah.
I think that it really does. You constantly feel the pressure of people around you. She's more nimble than Joel, but she's still capable, even if she's not quite as strong. I just think that they do a great job of making it so that the playing the game is also part of the story. You feel the storytelling happening around you.
And also, I don't always notice, combat gear, and I don't think I clock gameplay as much as most people do. I probably clock it when I don't like it more so.
Sure. It's like CGI, yeah.
Exactly.
You don't notice it until it sucks.
Yep, yeah. But I like this a lot. Like it's a fun game to play. It definitely has like its own mechanics that I had to get used to, but it is like genuinely a fun game to play too, even if a lot of it is like stealthy zombie killing, or you want to just jump out and like throw a grenade and be like, all right, like a grenade full of nails and be like, all right, everyone, let's go. It's also a fun game to play in addition to being extremely like fascinating from like a much bigger philosophical point.
Definitely. Also, speaking of the mechanics, I did mean to mention this earlier, but when I was playing, so you mentioned that you try and usually just go through as quick as possible on the easiest level, especially on games like this where there are trophies locked behind difficulties.
Yes.
I'll usually try and start on the highest difficulty and just try and get used to playing at that level so that I can do that the first time and then go do like cleanup on the easy mode, basically.
Cool.
And in the first game, this might still be the case in 2 as well, because I didn't beat it on the hardest mode. But in the first game, you don't get the like listen mechanic in the hard mode.
Yeah.
And so when I finally watched somebody else playing it, and I was like, what the fuck is this? You can just see people in silhouette.
Yeah, absolutely. That is way harder. That's wild. Also, I want to shout out the upgrading your weapons in this is so satisfying. Like the sounds of like cleaning your gun and adding new parts to it, and just and
you literally see the new parts too.
Yes, it is so. They make that so much cooler than it needs to be, or like most other games do. I feel like 90, and I could be wrong, but I think more than a majority of games, their upgrade is like you click the button and then boom, it's like you have it, you move on. There's no like appreciating the details of it. I think of like, a mechanic that's very proud of their work, showing you like every little screw and something, or like a carpenter or something like, look at this.
Yeah.
I felt the same way. Like whenever I upgraded the weapon, it was just the angles, the lighting, the sound, and the cleaning it and stuff was just, I think there's a thing that's very attractive about like seeing an expert, you know. It's a lot of people always talked about it too, but it's a thing that I think people like is like, oh wow, look at this person that is like really knows their shit.
Sure. That's what Michael Mann movies are all about.
100%. And that's how I feel like when I'm like, oh, time to go to the workbench and then clean up my little toys. Like it's so fun.
Yes, I totally agree. I also will say that I appreciate that it's just like gears to upgrade, because in so many games they overcomplicate the crafting system and they make it impossible to do upgrades. Oh, I need one more red jelly bean in order
Assassin's
to fill
Creed
this.
is like so damn hard. I'm like, what? So I need to kill this cow, but this wolf to get this arrow? Like the various ingredients you need to upgrade is way more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah, this is great. You just get some gears. You can use them on any weapon. It's perfect. Same thing with the pills in order to do your like body upgrades, which always,
I like that.
also makes me laugh.
Yeah, that's fun.
Inhale a bunch of pills.
Yeah, just some rogue pills, and now I feel better.
I've learned a new ability.
There is a part in Valhalla where you have like 3 chalices, and it's like pick one, and you don't know what any of them do. And I'm always just waiting for the one that just kills me. Like, that was poison. You shouldn't just drink random cups.
And you'd sit there and you'd say, well,
I deserved that. Yeah,
I earned it.
Yep, that was fair. I walked over and drank that cup.
So Ellie is played by Ashley Johnson, who is obviously amazing.
Phenomenal.
Rejoined by Troy Baker as Joel, while Laura Bailey and Shannon Woodward join the cast as Abby and Dina, are 2 other leads here.
Yeah.
And they always had a focus on making sure every character you see is dimensional. I think that you talked about this a little bit earlier, but there aren't really heroes and villains. Everybody is gray, depending on what perspective you're involved in at the time. They do such a great job of even like the Scar dogs, like with Alice and Bear, and you see them like having a good time, like playing fetch and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, but you also see them being like snapping at the kids and everything as soon as they come in. So you really get this idea that everybody has their own interests and desires and fears in a way that creates that lived in world. It's just spectacular.
You feel the layers of like everyone wanting to survive, but also like people wanting to love and feel love and like affection. And so you see all these different parts of like just being a human being with each of those 4 characters. That's why I like when they're like, all right, now you're playing as this character, now you're playing as that character, now you're talking to that one. I'm like, great, they're all well written. So I'm interested in what that person is doing now.
Yes, absolutely. And that authenticity was a goal in every facet, not just the characters. From the animations using mocap to the effects in the game, with the goal of full immersion and never having a moment that doesn't feel real, both from a character and visual standpoint. You know, you see it in the reddening of skin from emotion, a bulging forehead vein, the way tears flow, all improvements developed for this game.
Yeah, and like the remasters too have been like, I see a lot of split screens of before and after, and it's wild how human-like video games are becoming.
Scary.
I wonder if they'll make a VR version of this. Like, could you imagine that? It doesn't feel like they're far from it. Yeah, playing this game at like 1 a.m, knowing I have like probably an hour left, but all the lights are off, and it's like I'm in a hospital basement. I'm like, I can't do this emotionally.
They also literally walked Ellie's path in Seattle, which was cool. They looked for distinct awnings and signs and whatnot. And they talked about how the variety of growable fruit, huntable wildlife, it's a more lush environment than in the first one. And that helps to sort of explain why there are more factions fighting over these resources. You have the Army, Fedra, they're defeated by the Washington Liberation Front, who's also at war with the Seraphites.
Yeah.
Neil said, in The Last of Us, any group that has survived this long has got to be dangerous.
Yeah, they're doing something right.
Right. Religious zealots, militant fascism, the infected. Meanwhile, for Ellie, he said, just living is no longer enough.
Yeah.
And so you have to go up against that world. As far as the tech goes, I won't pretend to be well-versed in this, but it's very impressive. And according to the research, at least, it was a lot of cutting-edge stuff. I had literally wrote the note, wow, it feels good to chuck a bottle through the windows.
Yeah.
And then later I read about how they were like, oh yeah, that glass shattering was a huge win for us because of how difficult it was to implement and the variety of use. And I was like, the fact that someone who doesn't always notice these things, that I was like, wow, I'm not just noticing it, but I'm noticing how good it feels.
Yeah.
Really speaks to the game's quality.
Yeah, there's just so many small things like that you then have a new appreciation for. The glass bottle thing's really cool. I remember having I'm like, why do I have 8 bottles in my backpack? Like, but then you throw one and you're like, oh, okay, I get it. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And they did anticipate it being more divisive than the first game in an exciting way. I think it was. There was a lot of conversation around the storytelling and violence, which I agree. Even the people who didn't like the violent stuff, I'm like, at least you can get interesting conversations out of this. But it also exposed a lot of transphobic dumbasses who were wrong twice over. Thanks to several people incorrectly assuming Abby was the trans character reported in the lead up because of vague leaks and her bulk.
Yeah.
And so you just really saw a lot of people showing their asses on this one.
Absolutely. And honestly, hardcore gamers are very good at that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it really sucks. And I feel horrible for those voice actors. I'm sure received a lot of horrifying messages and death threats from shitty fucking loser gamers.
Mm-hmm.
Those people should not have any sort of public social media platform at all. They should just keep all their shitty ass thoughts to themselves. Yeah, it was wild seeing, as I was playing it, just knowing the world we lived in was just like, okay, I know there's some dipshit, transphobic, homophobic, sexist, racist losers who are probably having a lot to say right now. But yeah, I don't know. The game was like, it was another reason why I loved it was because it was like all of those things. And it's like, how many AAA games do that shit? Like, they're all made by these white guys that are just like, I'm not, oh, no, I'm not, we're not going to touch that stuff. It's like, fuck you. Like, this game is so cool and has all of that stuff, which is what the real world is. So, yeah, I don't know. Sucks to see those people, like, voicing their horrible opinions. But another reason why I loved the game was, like, that it touched on all of those things, which a lot of AAA games don't.
Yeah, and I know people in my personal life who were like, wow, it's cool to have some representation in this game. And so
absolutely, that
is worth more than anyone being like, oh, I'm mad that Joel isn't the lead character.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah.
He's there.
I'm mad.
Meets his natural conclusion. It feels right for the character and the game.
Yeah.
And you also get all this other great stuff. People get to feel included.
Huge win.
Huge win. I agree. I think that it was a great decision to include not just the characters, but like even the conversations. I thought that they handled themselves pretty well in them. So
definitely. Yeah, I agree.
To get into the actual game now, like I said, you start off as old man Joel and then he gets killed.
Yep.
And there's a great moment up top where Ellie says, oh, we should go out like Eugene from Old Age. Eugene is like one of the other Firefly types. And Dina already knows. She says there's no way you're too reckless because they've set out now on this path for revenge. They're going to kill the people who killed Joel, perpetuate this cycle of violence because they were there to avenge Abby's father and also ostensibly, I guess, kind of the whole world, but more literally for her father. So.
Yeah, totally. First thing you do is you do a snowball fight, and if you're me, you lose quick.
Just getting blasted with snowballs.
Uh-huh.
Dina turned around and started hitting you too. She said, you don't deserve this.
You're an embarrassment. I'm like, this is the tutorial. How did I lose the tutorial? It reminds me of when I got Cyberpunk. I hit a world record, I believe, for dying. I died within the first 8 seconds of gameplay where, like, if you're, like, in the desert, first thing you do is drive a car out of a garage, and I drove it directly into a telephone pole and died, and then had to restart.
Wow. Yeah, that might be a record.
It was impressive. I think I logged like 7 seconds.
One of the first notes you find, which of course the notes are a big part of the storytelling in this game as well. They do a lot of great world building, and it was timely for the season.
Yeah.
There's one at the beginning where someone says, Dear Santa, I was a good boy this year. Can I please have a big dog? I wanted to keep my daddy safe while he goes hunting for food. It could also help protect our house from the monsters. It could also help keep me company when my daddy closes himself in the bedroom. Can you also get me a gun? I think if I was stronger, my dad would be happier. Thank you very much, Eric. And you're just like, holy shit.
Yep. You're 25.
So much to unpack in there.
Yeah.
Like this dad is like sobbing in the bathroom, and this kid is like, you're like, oh, the kid thinking about monsters. And you're like, oh no, there are literally monsters in this world.
Yeah. They're not figurative.
Yeah. I also, you forget that, or at least I forgot, that Joel literally rescues Abby from the infected at the beginning, right before his death, which is so intense. And she says, oh, you don't get to rush this. And it is such a rug pull. I mean, truly, absolutely. I had been avoiding as much like lead up as possible going into this game.
Yeah.
And so I really felt the like impact of this. I was like, holy shit. I couldn't believe that they had gone for it. And it worked so well.
I spent the like last month, maybe not month, but yeah, I played it like periodically, like every weekend, part 1 leading up to the release of part 2. And so I was like I felt so comfortable with Joel, and then just assuming like, oh, and part 2 is going to be a lot more of that. And then immediately I'm like, oh my God, it's so cool. I don't know. I can't think of any other sequels. I'm sure there's a lot of examples, but I can't think of any sequels where it's like, yo, did you see Iron Man 2? They immediately kill Tony Stark.
Yeah, I mean, it is the kind of thing where you see it more in something like Barbarian or like in Psycho, where it's like this big perspective shift becomes the thing it's known for. And for this to have, incorporated it into it, but in a more natural feeling way where it's like, that's just a piece of the game. It's not the thing that it doesn't become the game, I think is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is cool. I'm glad that doesn't become, because that would have been honestly a very easy move, just to be like, and now this is the whole game. It's like Taken for Joel, for Ellie, about Joel. And it's not. It's like way more than that. Like, I think a lot of other games would have just been like, okay, so he dies, and now that's the whole game is about like avenging him, and he dies now.
Yeah.
It's like, they're above that.
Yeah. It's also interesting because at the end of the first one, you're so wrapped up in that character's perspective that you're like, yeah, fuck them. He was right to get Ellie out of there. And this one kind of forces you to look past that solipsism and be like, oh yeah, he did do like a really, really fucked up thing. But then, even to counter that again, when he does die and you come back to his house and it's covered in like tribute flowers, and you see all of the individual basis good deeds that he did.
Yeah.
And how on a local level, he did have a good impact. Even if on this grander scale, he had a negative impact on the pandemic.
The world. Yeah.
So it's complicated.
But the community loved him.
Right.
I'm going to say a spoilery thing, and you can cut it out if you want to. Have you watched Andor?
I haven't, no.
I won't say which character or anything, but similar thing happens in one of the episodes, and I actually thought of this exact thing with Joel and Last of Us. I was like, yep, the good did the community loves this character, so I was like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah I like that, and it really works for Joel, where you're like, oh, you can see how like his being a smuggler would set him up to like be helpful to people. So
yeah, he's Robin Hood.
Yeah. They set off for Seattle, Washington, based on the patches that these, what we learned to be the wolves had. And it's this really great, fun first open area where you get to really explore the city, and you find all kinds of buildings to peek into. There's a music shop where you sing all of Take On Me to Dina.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Which became a really funny, like, I forgot about that. Then the like big, not even meme, just like people like changing the songs to like Wrecking Ball and stuff. Like, right. I don't know. It's very, or even people like actually playing, different songs on guitar was really funny. Like that was a cool mechanic that became a life of its own.
The way that the guitar works in that game is incredible. Like,
yeah, it's wild.
Not just being able to shift all the different chords and notes and everything, but like using the little touchpad and being able to pluck
To
individual
strum, yeah.
strings, like, is, wow, the future is now.
You know what I'm really curious about? If I met Neil and he said, you can ask me one question, I would ask, what were the other songs pitched
Wow.
that she was going to play?
Wow, that's a really good question.
Because you know there was like a dozen other ones.
Mm-hmm. In case we can't get Take on Me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's my bet. Now I'm getting cocky, but I think it's a funny thought experiment. I bet if there was 12, 10 of them were really good and 2 of them were really bad. Like, wow, I'm really glad you guys didn't go with that one. I can't think of an example, but it's like, yeah, that would have sucked.
One of them is like, Baby, It's Cold Outside. She's doing both parts. She's doing a solo duet.
And then Dina starts and she's like, oh, no, that's me. Stop. God, that would be awesome.
Please don't interrupt, Dina.
Yeah. No, this is me.
Watch me do me. I will also say, you know, it's funny because Take on Me like has famously nonsensical lyrics, and
yeah,
it like does still kind of work and feel thematic here.
Uh-huh.
Oh, today is another day to find you. You're like, oh, okay, I get it.
She's like, this shit is bananas. BANANAS. Also works, but is wild. God, I want to know what the other choices were.
She goes glamorous. She's like, if you ain't got no money, take your broke ass home.
Oh, that would be awesome.
But you finally get into the TV station, and there's some lynched and gutted people hanging in the epicenter, which couldn't have been Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find the already deceased Leah, who you've been chasing. And it's a intense and great encounter room. It's the first real encounter with like a wolves sort of surrounding you in this way. And as they roll in, they give you so many supplies that it becomes terrifying.
Yeah.
Like all of those boss fountain type things where they're like, you're going to need all this crap. You're like, oh shit, man.
Yeah. Yeah, most games it's like cool, and then with this one, whenever that would happen, I'd be like, oh god, because what was not annoying, but just like stressful was you'd be on your horse, whatever, having a good time, and everything's so green because it's just like the moss has taken over these buildings and like bridges.
Earth reclamation. And
then you'd approach a building with so much gear at the front door. And then all you would see were stairs going down. And you'd be like, oh, fuck, come on. And it's there's no electricity. And it's like, can't we just go outside and walk around? It was so nice. And it's like, no, you have to go to the basement. And you know it's bad down there.
You know it's bad.
That happens so much.
Yeah, and like the flashlight starts to flicker. You have to shake the remote
Come on.
the controller.
Not now.
They chase you out with reinforcements and into the subway where there's a bunch of clickers. Very funny moment where I like launched a brick to stir them up, and I was like watching the WLF get attacked, like really satisfied. And then I got so scared because one of the clickers snuck up on me and killed me while I was watching them. I got cocky. And I
You're
paid
like,
the price.
man, this is cool. No!
I really jumped. I really did.
Yeah.
You also meet the new type of infected, the Shamblers, and after making it out of the subway, you rest in a theater where Dina confesses that she suspects she's pregnant, which pisses Ellie off. Mm-hmm. You didn't want to be a burden? Well, you're a burden now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Wow. Fucked up line.
That was wild. Great reveal, too, of like, just adding more stakes as well throughout an already, stressful game. I'm like, oh, so good.
Absolutely. And you get this moment where Ellie plays guitar again by herself in the theater there. And I love that they do give her an escape, that she has something that is a release for her. Mm-hmm. And I mean, she draws as well, but in these moments of high intensity stress that she like takes out the guitar, it like feels like a real character thing, something that she can blow off some steam with and helps her to, again, just feel those dimensions.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Flashback time, because I'm on a motherfucking dinosaur. 3 years ago, she talks about how she wants to be an astronaut. There's a really great moment where you're like sneaking through the dark alone. And there's a great moment in it in particular where the game ratchets up the tension just by putting your character in battle mode for nothing. Like your character like automatically like takes out the gun and battle music starts to play and you're like, oh, fuck. Yeah, and then it's just a wild boar that comes out of nowhere.
Great
you don't
reveal.
fight it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. A lot of fun. You do find some signs calling the Fireflies liars, though, which is emotionally impactful.
Yeah. Now you don't know who to trust.
We're in Seattle day 2 now. Dina has gotten the radio working, and we hear there's a lone male trespasser in Hillcrest, which they say has got to be Tommy. But Dina stays behind to track since she's got morning sickness bad. Turns out, though, it's not Tommy. It's Jesse. Wow, the baby daddy has arrived. He helps you navigate Hillcrest. You do a fun car segment to escape. I like these little
that was
chase
cool.
sequences.
Me too.
And you get another flashback to 2 years ago. The original plan was for this to be Ellie and Joel visiting his girlfriend, Esther, who lived by the dams. And then you'd find her inside with a bite. And inside, she'd be trying to wrap the injury with a tourniquet, but knew she was going to die. And so Joel senses the urgency of the situation, tells Ellie to get her a drink of water from the river nearby. And then as you play as Ellie, you reach the river and you hear a bang. And you don't know whether Esther killed herself or if Joel put a bullet in her head, but you knew this was going to happen, Gross said. That's the writer from Westworld. And she said, quote, that 2 adults were making a decision and they were going to try to protect Ellie as much as they could. And I do think that would have been interesting. The idea of Joel having someone else out there who does care about him is also interesting. And then for him to have that ripped away from him as well.
Yeah.
But I do also like going through this hotel with Joel and I like what it turned out to be anyway. Not having this tertiary party take away, but just getting to let the relationship dynamics that have changed since the first one get to play out between Ellie and Joel here.
And not to critique, but I do feel like if you are a passive gamer and if you haven't played the first one and you're introduced to 14 new characters with all of this stuff, I'm kind of glad to hear that there's like additional stuff that they were like, now let's just drop that. Because like trying to explain this to my girlfriend, she was like, okay. Like after like 30 seconds, she was like, you can say, I got the gist. Like, and I was like, and then Tommy comes. And then when he said, she's like,
Tommy.
okay, nope, I got it. So yeah, I could see like this is a hard one to maybe dip your toe in if you are like, oh yeah, I like games. And then you get into this and it's like, what the fuck? What am I getting into? So I think it benefits a lot if you have played the first.
Definitely. And yeah, just culling some of those extraneous story threads does help to keep it narratively focused.
Yep, totally.
As you go through the hotel, there is a great moment where you see the savagery with which Joel attacks an infected bloater who almost gets you. And you find a couple of teens who ran away last year, which prompts a confrontation between Ellie and Joel, though he doubles down saying there was no cure. Back in the present day, we have a lead, so Ellie rushes out to Dina's displeasure, and you follow Route 5 to the hospital, finding Nora listening to Today Was a Good Day, which was very ironic, considering the massacre that we visit upon these wolves here.
Yeah.
And we make her tell us that Abby is at the aquarium. I love when Ellie comes back to the theater from what she did, from making Nora talk, and she's just, like, shell-shocked.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, she's 19 years old. Like, this is so intense.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It
does feel like that she's like in, kids that go to the military, like out of high school. And then they're just like constantly having to be like, this is fucking insane. This is not what, this is way more horrifying than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's so understandably disheveled.
Yeah. Another flashback to 2 years earlier this time. She explores the hospital that Joel tore through. It's brutal when you realize where she is and you like recognize the hallway and the doors.
That was cool. Yeah.
And there she finds a tape recorder implicating Joel in his actual deeds. And he finally admits it. He admitted it. He's making the vaccine would have killed you, so I stopped them. And Ellie says, I'll go back, but we're done. Wow.
Oh, man. I want to rewatch that scene today. My TikTok, I'm pretty blessed. We'll have Last of Us clips. I have a lot of video game clips on my TikTok, and pretty regularly it'll be like that back and forth.
Wow.
And two, he says like, doesn't he say too, like, I don't regret it. I would do it again if I had to. Like,
yeah. And that's a little later, but in a similar flashback. Yeah. She's like, I don't know if I could forgive you for this. And he's like, look, I would do it. I would do the exact same thing.
That's so fucking cool, man. God damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really powerful.
Huge reveal. Yep.
Day 3. Jesse and Ellie head out to the aquarium. They're trying to find Tommy quickly so that Dina can go home and get some real care. But tensions flare when, while stealing a boat, you'll hear reports of a sniper attacking the wolves on the marina, which has got to be Tommy, but for real this time.
Actually, Tommy, though.
Right? And Jesse wants to go help him, but Ellie says she's going after Abby, which pisses off Jesse, and he goes off on his own while you do a fun boat sequence.
Yeah.
And you eventually get tossed by the sea, and you have to swim to the aquarium, which looks pretty sick. It's a really fun environment, this whole ocean into aquarium environment. I just love walking around in there.
Me too. Is this where sorry if I'm getting this wrong. Is this where her flashback is with the rocket ship imagination? That's not this.
Oh, that was earlier. That's when she is in the dinosaur.
On the dinosaur.
Museum.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And she talks about wanting to be an astronaut.
It's confusing because there's like a zoo, an aquarium, a museum. There's so many
they pack them in
grade
here.
School field trips that you walk through. But yeah, I liked all the aquarium stuff, and the boat stuff was really fun. I just like that this is like an apocalypse zombie game where you also get to explore various outdoor areas and take it all in.
The beauty of the world turning.
Mother Nature.
Is turning back to itself. It's healing, they say.
It is, truly.
You find Mel and Owen instead of Abby, and they're arguing. And while forcing them to show you where Abby is, Owen lunges for the gun, and you kill them both. And as Owen bleeds out, he gurgles that Mel was pregnant, which fucks Ellie up big time, just in time for Jesse and Tommy to show up together and whisk her back to the theater.
Wow.
Wow, indeed.
So insane, man. This damn game. I don't know. I mean, I know I sound stupid, but truly there's nothing like this. Just having to realize what you just did, and then you are a quarter through the game when that happens. That is such a last 2 hours of the game. Oh, well, you actually did this really fucked up thing. It's this is how fucked up this world is that this is one of 70 horrifying things that are going to happen in the game.
Yeah.
It is. I'm trying to find a better way to word this, but I'm just going to say it. What I like about it is what we were saying with killing the dogs too. There are so many fucked up things that happen, but you have to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the game forces you to do. It's well, here's another thing that will haunt you for the rest of your life. And it should. You have to keep going though.
Yeah.
Because you will die if you don't.
You have to see it through. Yeah.
Always a shock too, these reveals, and it's fuck. If anyone else, you would just kind of sit there for another several days, and it's nope, we got to get up, come on.
Right.
It's wild.
No time to take it in.
We can't reflect. Yeah.
Exactly. And you got Tommy chirping in your ear about how they got what they deserved.
Yeah.
God damn. Despite Abby's survival, Ellie reluctantly agrees that it will have to do, and that they can turn back with Dina.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a thud in the front of the theater, and when Ellie and Jesse go to see what's up, Jesse is immediately shot in the face.
Oh.
Abby is here, and she has Tommy hostage. What a fucking moment. You truly are oh, wow, now we're going to take a slow moment to reflect on what just happened. We're going to head back with Dina. And there is no time to breathe. Abby is there and attacking, and you're just holy shit.
It's so wild because you're processing how your character just killed a pregnant person, and then moments later, the father of a pregnant person is shot in the face. And it truly feels like the law of averages. Well, you just did something extremely fucked up. Now something extremely fucked up is going to happen to a loved one of yours.
The violence begets violence. That's what they're saying the whole time, man.
Yep. Abby is such a badass, though.
Yeah.
I love that she is ripped and way stronger than all of the other characters in the game.
Yeah.
She is just a superhero. She's so cool.
Oh my God. And you really feel it too when you play as her, and you're oh, I'm beating the fuck out of
you punch someone and their health drops way faster than other characters.
Ellie tries to negotiate, but Abby is understandably furious about the death of her friends.
Yeah.
And we get another flashback, but this time for her.
Yep. It's awesome.
Wow. It's 4 years earlier. Abby and her dad are in the ruins of a zoo. They're tracking a new mother zebra who has gotten stuck in some barbed wire, and they cut her loose with the help of Owen, her boyfriend.
Ooh.
Turns out Owen had come to grab her father, who is a Firefly doctor. In fact, not just a Firefly doctor, but the Firefly doctor. The one who was going to do the surgery and develop the vaccine, who pushed Marlene to buy in, and who was killed by Joel, which we see the aftermath of here.
Yep.
Back in semi-present day, we're in Abby's shoes now, and it's day one again. We're back at Seattle day one. We're in the Seattle Orcas Stadium. Bleed blue, Orca Nation.
Go Orcas. Wow.
Abby's getting called up to the front, and we see all the people that we've killed as Ellie being humans and not enemies, and also dogs, because we signed out Alice, who is very cute. We play fetch with Bear, who's a very important mechanic that you can play fetch with these dogs. And not only in Abby's just like sheer bulk and muscle and being physically impressive, but also part of what I like about Abby is that you get to play with different craftables and stuff.
Yep.
Like it's a whole new set of weapons and everything.
Yeah.
She gets pipe bombs, shivs to fend off clickers with,
Yep.
a hunting pistol, and a knife rifle. And I think that what it does is it does a great job of making you feel like a trained killer in comparison to Ellie. You know,
Yeah.
You feel like this is something that you do more regularly instead of just scrapping by to survive.
You definitely feel more prepped going. You feel more confident, frankly.
Mhm.
You feel more like a soldier that was ready rather than like a person who is turned into a soldier.
Exactly.
And it's fun. It's fun that it feels different. It sucks when games have, okay, you can play as this new character, and it's just like the same mechanics mapped over a different character. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
well, why don't I just play as the original character? Like, this really does feel different.
Absolutely. And yeah, it just feels nice. You know, there's the moment where you have to like cut through the train yard, and I like got through without taking any damage at
Nice.
all, and I was like, oh fuck yeah. And yeah, you just make your way out to the front, and while hearing about how Jackson shook Owen up, you're ambushed by Seraphites, and you have to fight your way to the checkpoint, where things are hella busy, including at the morgue, and Owen is missing as well.
God.
You finally meet Isaac, who is the leader of the wolves, and he is mid-torture when you meet him.
Hi, Isaac.
Yeah, so maybe one of the less ethically complex characters, and that this guy is like, it's time to do a genocide.
Yeah. Okay, and here's Isaac, and 10 minutes ago I was playing with doggies.
Yeah, he says they're done with the small skirmishes and a truce won't work. They need to completely eliminate the Seraphites, aka the Scars, which is their pejorative term for them. And there's a storm a few days out. They'll use it to cover their approach and attack with everyone.
Yeah. Setting up the end of the game, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, there's a rumor flying around that Owen is missing because he shot Danny to protect some Scar, if you can believe it.
I wish that that's how they said it too. Hey, there's a rumor flying around.
Abby is conflicted about this. She wants to go get him to hear the truth, but Isaac won't let her go. So she goes out anyway, and she says, I know where he'll go. Flashback time again.
I love how much of this game is, all right, I got to go all the way to that place and talk to this person. Like, the fact that I love that there's no, I mean, I guess that's a lot of like trying to find new people, but I just love that they can't text or whatever.
Yeah.
They can't just be like, hey, can we talk? Like, so much of the game is like, you're in this city, you need to go 11 miles.
Walk there.
Yeah, you have to walk there. And then you get there and it's like a big moment, and then it's like, okay, time to walk back.
Hope it worked out. You don't have to walk to a third place now. So it's another flashback, this time to 3 years earlier. Owen and Abby are at the marina. she's being very nervous about the height of the Ferris wheel, one of many inclinations that she has a fear of heights that does come into play later. But you are also here seeing how willing she is to push herself for those that she cares about, though. Because when Owen jumps off the Ferris wheel, she immediately jumps in after him when she thinks that he drowned.
Yeah, that was cool. I love moments like this in movies a lot. Just like seeing a character do something that they normally wouldn't do because their love for someone overtakes how they feel.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. So
definitely,
I again, having empathy for these characters. It's like these moments like this. You see something like that, and you're like, I like that. I like this character now more than I was anticipating. You know?
Yeah, especially when you have already seen them at their nadir.
Yep.
You know, their lowest point. You've seen her destroying Joel, who we loved.
Yeah.
And now to have them be like, actually, it's more complicated than that, and she is a real person here. And like, it's just great storytelling for sure.
Yep.
He found the aquarium, and the two of you explore it. You find the remains of Max and his family, who ran off to join the Scars. Max built a sick fortress in there, and Owen smooches Abby in there, but she is still distracted by thoughts of revenge on Joel. It's getting in the way of love. Wow.
I can't fuck. I got death on the mind.
Hey, Ellie felt the same way later, as we'll see. So.
Yep. How can you fuck when people are dying?
or need to die. Owen doesn't want to follow her back to training. He's going to hang out with the SEALs for a while, he says, which I understand and respect.
Yeah, that's honestly my biggest excuse too, so I relate.
Yeah. Hey, you want to come over for the weekend? No, sorry. I'm going to hang out with these SEALs.
I'd love to, man. I just got to train with the SEALs.
Back in present day, Manny does help you sneak out of there. It is funny when you like find his sex den. That's like a fun moment. Where it's like, you don't have to find this part of the game, and you just like you start reading a note, and it gets shut down before you can finish reading it because he like grabs it out of your hand.
Hey, put that down.
Yeah. And as you make your way back towards the aquarium as Abby, there are some really cool moments, like the clicker coming after you while you're in the confined pathway, and it chases you out. You also find a double-barreled shotgun, and you get to be a bull in a china shop, which is a funny little goof. You like come out into a literal china shop, and everything is breakable, and you get to just walk around and smash those pots.
Yeah, it rules.
There's also Seraphite camps and a shrine to the Prophet on the route as well, which is intense. It's built into the back of a truck. Abby says Isaac turned a crazy person into a martyr, and that they're right in their backyard. And I think that they do such an interesting job of doling out information about the Seraphites, like how they're called the Scars because they slash their faces as a reminder of their imperfection, the Luddism that they have retreated into as like a way to reject sin, the poetry that they put in places. Just a lot of really cool moments for these tertiary villains in this game who are sort of the antagonists of both parties that you play as. It's just such a cool way to handle it and to make that lived in feeling extend to them even without getting to actually be in their perspective.
We haven't really talked about pacing, and like that is another one of the reasons why I think this game works so well is like it would be very easy to just dump so much information up top and then just be like, okay, here's the pieces now, and then kind of do like a lazy open world with it. Not that this is really open world, but like they could very easily have just dumped information on you, left a bunch of vague stuff for you to find out yourself, and then you kind of go from there. But it has a good combination of like what we were just talking about, the like killing a pregnant person and then a father to be getting shot. I guess two fathers to be getting shot. Those back-to-backs are jarring, but then as these twists are occurring very like steadily throughout, just like little bits of information is being dropped on you in a way that feels, helpful, like extremely helpful.
Yeah.
I appreciate the time of information being told to you because, I don't know, I've played some games where I'm just like, I have to pause and be like, do I hit restart checkpoint just to hear that again? Or like, it just like, it gets too confusing, or there's like, okay, just someone unloading information in a way that I'm like, did they like forget that they didn't say this? And now they're like, wait, hold on, just so you know. So these like kind of subtle, like in between moments like this is great.
Absolutely. And you get chased by a big hammer lady whose ear you bite off, but they manage to hold you down, and another lady with a normal-sized hammer knocks you out for another flashback, this time to 4 months earlier. You go see Owen at the aquarium. He's built a nice little home for himself and Mel with a place for Alice. But most importantly, there's a fun target gallery for a Nerf bow and arrow set up.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
He also set up a lot of lights and a tree because it's Christmas. Wow.
A lot of Christmas stuff in this game.
Yeah, managed to tie it into the season after all. Great work, us. And he shows her the view, and he gives her a little of his still hooch.
Wait, I need to start telling people this is my favorite Christmas game.
'Tis the reason for the season, my friend. Abby is in a great mood, though, because she found out where Tommy is, a new lead for Joel. Everyone is on board, including Isaac, except Owen. He's sad about it, but he is willing to go for Abby. Back to present day. We're strung up outside in the middle of a storm, but it's interrupted by their capture of a young girl named Yara, which is another Seraphite, but an apostate, who ran off with Lev, her brother. A very interesting pair of characters. Lev is the transgender character that we alluded to previously, which is revealed through the other Seraphites being emotionally violent as well as physically violent and refusing to use his preferred name. They call out the dead name while searching, and Lev is like, can we not talk about this?
Yeah.
And Abby's like, fine. Like, that's fine with me. And it's interesting because originally Yara was going to be the trans character, but as the story fleshed out, they added Lev so that you could see a more traditional follower break from the pack as well.
Yeah.
So that you got someone who understood the damage that they had been doing break away from that pack instead of just the person who had been being affected by it. So
I love this part as well. I mean, you think about, like I was just saying, I wish I had made the pacing point like 2.5 minutes later because the introducing of new characters like this far into a game, I think normally you'd be like, oh, I was just trying to get used to the last 15 people I just met. But again, extremely well written and paced in a way that you don't. I know we're throwing 24 names out there over the last like almost 2 hours, but this is over the course of, so far it's like 25 hours of gameplay.
Yeah.
These characters are introduced in a way where you're like, great. You don't feel at all like, oh my gosh, okay, now there's more names I need to learn. But like they're super fascinating and like, I don't know, brought into the world in like an interesting way. And the amount of spin-offs that these guys could do is wild, but it's cool. I don't know.
Because everyone's an engaging character.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree. It is very well paced. Yeah. Like I said earlier, it's not a short game. So the fact that we're this far into it and still getting new characters is good to help it stay fresh. We get these new relationships, new wrinkles and stuff.
And also we should say a lot of characters are getting killed off throughout. So
yeah, true that. Yeah. We're probably still at a net negative.
Yeah. We're like +3 when it comes to the characters.
Apparently, there were no trans actors being represented by the acting agencies that Naughty Dog was using, which is crazy on its own.
Yeah, that's not good.
But some team members were fans of the OA, in which unrepresented actor Ian Alexander, who plays Lev in this, was one of the stars. So he was invited directly to audition, and they said he knocked it out of the park, thanks in part to his own Mormon background and backlash during transitioning.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super fascinating. I didn't know that. Wow.
It sucks when these things happen to people, but
yeah,
it's always interesting to me when they are able to put it into their art in that way.
Yeah.
And hopefully get some kind of catharsis out of that. But
yeah,
to bring that realism to it, it's part of what makes it so impactful.
100%. Yep. There's nothing cringier than like watching a scene and then going to the IMDb and being like, whoa, this is not what I was watching.
The Seraphites there break Yara's arm, although she is saved by Lev's arrows from the dark, and then Abby chokes the leader while still hanging there. and Lev contemplates leaving her, but Yara tells him to cut her down, and they run off together into the woods, fighting scars and clickers alike.
What I remember of this sequence was like I had doing a lot of fun archery, like from the bushes, because you're trying to like sneak into these, like basically huts or something, like these kind of cabin areas, and you're in the forest and you're working your way up. And I just remember having a lot of fun having like a fire arrow or something and being like 60 yards away and then just getting these guys on like the roof or like, kind of like, okay, that guy is, 25 feet away from that person. So I'm going to get that guy. All right, I got that guy. And now that guy, there's 2 people over there. I'm going to wait for that guy to walk over there. All right, I got that guy. And then you slowly just like, everyone slowly starts to disappear. I was like, oh, this is so fun.
Very satisfying, especially when like, part of what's also good about the upgrades, which we didn't mention before, is that they have a real tangible positive impact on the gameplay in that like one of the bow upgrades is the rangefinder, and it like gives you like a little marker where it's gonna fall, and it's so helpful.
Absolutely.
In, like figuring out and making it useful. And in a game like this where ammo is at a premium, you're like, oh shit, like I love this. It makes the weapons so useful, so fun, so just usable.
They do a great combination of upgrades in this game of what are cooler weapons, like what are weapons people are just going to talk about because it's like, holy shit, did you get this one? And what are applicable weapons? Like what are things that will sincerely help your gameplay? And I think they do a nice job like combining those two of like, this one's just fun as fuck. It's a flamethrower, whatever. You're just going to have fun with it. And then like the arrow upgrades and stuff and like the bow upgrades, I'm just like, yeah, man, I'm using this.
Yeah. Even in the like immediate following moments, like Abby finds the ability to craft bullets for the hunting pistol, which is a great usable weapon. And then also the ability to craft incendiary shells for the shotgun.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, okay, one for you, one for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cool.
There's a great moment where you're trapped and surrounded as you and these Seraphites run away together, but they're true to their word and they save you through the ambulance wreckage. And you get to the coast, you find a spot to set Yara's arm, and then you leave them, although Abby is a little reluctant to bail. And this time, it's her chance to swim out to sea, where she clambers into a ship, finds a sick-ass crossbow, and ordnance training manual, plus notes revealing that everything went to shit and that there was a mutiny after a passenger got infected. This is one of the smaller environments that really stuck with me. This like boat where one person got infected and then they were like, oh, are these other people actually infected or are they just sick? And how everybody was suspicious of each other and it just erupted into everybody killing each other. And like, you're like, fuck, this game is crazy.
You look outside and like everyone's wearing a mask for, you're like, oh, I wonder if this is relatable at all.
Couldn't be.
Yeah, like Death Stranding, just having to like wear a full hazmat suit to like get your pizza.
Definitely not relatable. She finally makes it to the aquarium and things aren't quite right, though she does find Owen's pack because he's on the boat ready to bail and tells her about what pushed him over the edge. I do like how it's framed in a way that you don't know what she's finding in there at first when she's like walking down into the boat and it's just her body taking up the whole frame.
Yeah, that was cool.
He tells her he's going to Santa Barbara because he's heard multiple rumors of the regrouping of the Fireflies. And she pushes back, but he throws her line about, it's a lead, I gotta see it through, back at her. And she tells him to grow up, and they fight, but it turns into a smooch and then sex. Yeah. Unbelievable. That guy he's having a baby.
I know, it's a big twist. I think about, I don't remember if I like actively thought about this as I was playing it, but since I've lasted your show, I bought a house and it caught on fire. A portable cell phone charger exploded in my garage when I was sleeping. It hadn't been used in months, just literally exploded. It set the garage on fire. House got covered in smoke. Was dealing with it. Is still dealing with it. Was dealing with it. I was late for this recording because I was dealing with it. It was 6 months ago. Trauma changes you, whether you like want it to or not. You adjust because you have to. And something that is hard is there's so much more arguing, not because you want to, but you have to figure shit out that you've never dealt with before in your life. Like I've not only have I never dealt with like a house fire, I've never dealt with a house. I've never owned a house. I've lived in a house, but I've never like had one.
Yeah.
This was 3 weeks after we moved in. Just like reflecting on this game, how much fighting there is. I have like more empathy toward it because I don't always view it as fighting. I also sometimes view it as like trying to find a solution together when you're both extremely stressed and tired, and you both want the same thing at the end of the day, but you don't know how you're going to get there because you're dealing with something you've never dealt with before. And so thinking about this game, like it'll be interesting replaying it post fire because I feel like it will be relatable in the sense of like the amount of conflict resolution you have to do when going through a life-changing experience is 100 times more than you normally do when you're not.
Yeah.
You know, hearing you say like these characters get in a fight and then we see them go here and then these characters get in a fight. I'm just like, yeah, this really, I obviously it's a completely made up video game, but I'm also like, this really tracks to like what going through a fucked up thing is because you're constantly trying to fix stuff. And every time you fix something, it's not always like, well, the first thing we did was high-fived. But yeah, so I don't know. This game just like hits on so many levels.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And you see how every little thing that builds on the initial issue stops these characters from addressing that initial issue.
Yeah.
And so that looms over them.
Yeah.
While they're also trying to reckon with other issues popping up and like, oh shit, now Dina's pregnant while I'm in the middle of having lost my father figure and and chasing down this woman for revenge and having to like literally murder people in cold blood. You can see how it could be exasperating. And even if you are both working towards the same goal, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to take all of that on and keep your cool all the time. Like it just is difficult.
I think the hardest part about it is, you know, until our house is fixed, which I honestly don't think it will be for another 6 months, but at a certain point, it will be 100% fixed. The garage will be fixed. The house will be fixed. Everything will be quote unquote back to normal. But until it is, we don't really have a choice. Like we just have to keep dealing with the bullshit constantly.
Yeah.
And so I like relate to these frustrations because it's like, you know, Ellie doesn't have, and Dina and Abby and Joel, like there's no choice. They don't get to say like, okay, we're done. And we're done with the apocalypse now. We're done with the zombies and the infection. It's like, yeah, no shit. Like, of course they don't want to be dealing with it. And so like, not having a choice in the matter and still having to push through, again, even though it's a completely different thing, the emotional element to it really like is connecting with me much 100 times more today than it did the first time I played it.
Wow. And you see that in Owen and Abby here as well. It's not just Ellie and Dina.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
She has this post-coital nightmare where she's running into the room where her dad died.
Yeah.
But then the door leads to the forest where Yara and Lev are strung up. And you even, when she wakes up, you can see Owen's back is all kinds of fucked up. Like he's full of scars.
Oh yeah,
himself.
that was wild.
So even though we didn't see him get those scars and live that life that earned them, you know, we can see that he has his own issues as well.
Yeah. Just a quick like second of like, oh shit, that guy's got something going on too.
Yep. Now it's Seattle Day 2 again. She goes after Yara and Lev. Abby does.
Isn't that hilarious? After all this shit, it says Day 2. That was crazy. Well, here's Day 2.
Yep. And you're like, holy shit, I just saw Day 3 was the crazy one. So Yara's in very bad shape. She needs medicine badly. And so you bring her to the aquarium, but Mel is there now too. Things are tense, especially since Abby is very hurt about Owen having sex with her and then going right back to Mel. But they agree to take a look. Turns out Yara has compartment syndrome and they'll need to remove the arm or it will get gangrenous.
Ugh.
Gross.
Yep.
Abby is going to go get supplies from the hospital, which is close enough thanks to Lev's reveal of the sky bridges that the Seraphites have built to get around the wolves and the floods. And there's a great note in here that, again, kind of does a great job of summing up the game for me, where it says, quote, "Whoever turns up, I don't care who they are. I don't care if they're wolves or Seraphites or whatever the fuck. Just save me. Please save me. I'll do whatever you want. I'll cut my face. I'll shoot up some Fedra shits. Who gives a fuck? I can't die here. I don't want to die here. Please help. Please help. They're going to find me. They're going to rip me apart." And that fear of the world around them being so hostile that it drives people to do these awful things to each other in the name of tribalism, and how fluid that tribalism ultimately is.
Yeah.
That it's out, he's doing it out of fear and not out of any real loyalty to the Scars religion or the Fedra military ethos or whatever. Like, whatever, any port in a storm.
Yeah.
Whatever can save them in this hostile world is what people will cling to. And I just thought that it was such a powerful note.
Yeah. We keep saying, and it's true though, it's just like the amount of connections this has to like COVID and today is just like the reactions people have, you know, or just like, or they don't want to get vaccinated. And then you see a person that you're like, I've known you for years. I've never seen you this way. I thought you were a smart person.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like different examples and stuff, but just like how the extremism is out of fear is scary.
Absolutely. On the other hand, you do find a note passed back and forth about people being kind to each other and sharing their limited supplies in an abandoned apartment. So, you know, like Mr. Rogers said, look for the helpers. You know, you'll find good people wherever you are.
That'd be awesome if there was a note that said, look for the helpers, Fred Rogers.
That would have been good. He's just out there doing his Mr. Rogers thing in the Last of Us world.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Daniel Tiger is hanging out too.
It's the mailman.
That's his gun. Blah, blah, blah. It always delivers.
Just like a scary version of like how they do in like movie trailers. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. That'd be awesome. Someone should do that. Yeah.
Abby's fear of heights does come into play, and I think they did a great job of capturing that feeling of being up there in the sky with the wind whipping around. But again, she pushes herself through and does actually fall, which I thought was really funny, that she was like, okay, I'm going to do it, and then immediately falls off this fucking bridge.
That was awesome.
Luckily, it is into a penthouse pool, though, so it is okay, and Lev went after her as well. While finishing the journey, she says she came back for the Seraphites out of guilt, not related to them specifically, but just, quote, needed to lighten their load a bit. So things are building, too much pressure, and you get compartment syndrome of the soul. Nailed it.
Perfect. Flawless.
Felt good about that one.
It is.
More stalkers in the hotel when you find Lev a gas mask, which are always fun and creepy. That's another one of the new infected types.
Yeah, I like that.
Luckily, you also do find a flamethrower here, which helps you navigate the metric buttload of infected. You make it to the hospital. You leave Lev behind so you can stroll right in. Bear the dog is back. He's hanging out.
Yeah.
People are also gossiping about Owen shooting Danny, but they talk to Isaac and they know you're AWOL, so you're arrested. Nora lets you out, and when you tell the white lie of Owen having compartment syndrome, she says the supplies have mostly been packed and shipped, so you gotta search the all kinds of fucked up lower floors for the ones that haven't been picked.
Including the scariest part of the whole game, I believe.
Oh my god. It is scary as hell down there in general. Things are still shut from the beginning of the outbreak. There's some great sound design, but as I'm sure this is what you were alluding to, eventually you make it to the garage where an ambulance has some of the supplies you need. It also houses the Rat King.
Yeah.
This thing is a true monstrosity. Several infecteds have grown together into one gross mushroom monster. There's not really a ton of like boss battle type sequences. It's usually more of like a numbers encounter. So this was a nice switch up. It is very scary. It's very strong. It's gross to look at.
Took me a while to beat too. Like I did not get it in one. I know my bar is low because I don't play a lot of scary video games, but this is straight up one of the scariest things I've played in a video game. It is incredible at how horrifying it is. And it is like fast too and incredibly powerful. I played this at like 11:30 at night with all the lights off and was like palms dripping in sweat.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrifying. This is a highlight of the game to me.
That's shit your pants status right there.
Yep. Absolutely.
Kurt Margano, who is one of those the co-directors, said, quote, "The Rat King was a team effort, a lot of concept work. We really wanted this ultimate infected. And it pushed Abby's fairly simple task and asked how far she's willing to go for these kids, getting these supplies, pushing her deeper and deeper into trouble, both physically and emotionally, against even crazier odds. That hospital basement is ground zero of the infection for Seattle, so the oldest infected. We asked ourselves, what would an infected be that had been there longer than anything else? Combined together, inspired by the way that the infected will grow into the wall that we set up in the first game.
Cool.
We evolved it from growing into the wall into growing into each other and just being a clump of different infected together. And it, again, like everything, feels like a natural evolution of the game.
Yeah.
It's remarkable how organic, pun not intended, this game feels.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very curious about people that played this one first and their experience with it. How much did they like it? Was it like a so-so game, or like did they play it and then go back and play the first one and then go back and play it again? Because there's just so many nods to the first game. I mean, it's a sequel. Like, no shit, there's nods to it. But like that, though, like that is such a cool thing that, yeah, of course, like we see them getting basically glued to the walls and then them basically gluing to each other and then creating this like ultra villain is super creative and cool.
Abby finally makes it out with the supplies and finds Lev again, stealing a boat to head back to the aquarium, where Lev gets to pet Alice while Yara is saved 2 wins in a row.
Absolutely.
They need them.
Yeah.
Lord knows they need them.
They do.
Owen and Abby talk a little after, mourning what they've become. He says maybe we stopped looking for the light, which was the Firefly slogan. Helping did make Abby feel good, though, and she imagines the hospital again, but this time her dad is there and he smiles at her. Day 3 now. Owen invited them all to come with him to Santa Barbara. Lev doesn't want to leave Seattle out of fear for their mom, but Yara wants to focus on their safety, and Mel isn't going if Abby goes. And the inevitable confrontation between them finally happens. We knew it had to eventually. She says, "You're a piece of shit, Abby, always have been." And yeah, I mean, again, it just feels like there is an interiority to Mel, you know, like you see her pain, you see her having watched them not only be exes, but then also get closer again over the past 2 weeks or whatever. It just feels tragic, and it feels like Mel is a real person.
It adds so much that, I don't know, I just keep coming back to, like, this is a zombie apocalypse game with, like, a full-on complicated love story, like, love triangle in between it. Like, it's just so cool that there's all these relationships, both friends and falling in love and parental, all happening in this world is so cool.
I totally agree.
Because like what we were saying earlier, the fact that there's no rules, but people are still like, you know, and understandably, there's still rules in a relationship. So it's like, hey, you shouldn't have done that because that was fucked up. But then it's like, you will decapitate someone.
That's not the fucked up part.
Yeah.
Good work on that.
Yeah. You spent too much time with her.
You spent too much time decapitating people. You get some backstory from Yara while you're looking for Lev because he runs off. Lev wanted to be a warrior and was assigned to be a wife to one of the elders, so he protested by shaving his head, and Owen tries to convince Abby to come to Santa Barbara with them. He says, "We can choose to be happy, Abby," which I think is one of the like sneaky themes of this game. You know, there is a lot of talk about how the cycle of violence is there, but also with Dina and with Owen, there is an element of like, if you had chosen,
yeah, let's get out of here.
Yeah, then, everybody's lives would have taken a drastically different turn. But it's something you have to work at.
Yeah, which is definitely the like post-credit sequence too feels like that.
They're interrupted by Yara's scream because Lev took the boat. He's heading for the island to try and help their mom. Owen is going to stay and fix the main boat while Yara and Abby go to the marina to steal another one and pursue.
Oh, yeah.
While there, Manny comes out of nowhere and saves Abby from being sniped. He's there for the boats so that they can hit the island, but it all clicks. Pun again, not intended.
That's what our Last of Us podcast should be called. It all clicks.
All right, you're on.
Deal.
But yeah, this is Tommy attacking when Jesse left Ellie. We're now seeing that from the other side.
Yeah.
And all of the names ending in a Y sounds are intersecting. We have Manny, Abby, Tommy, Ellie, and Jesse all here.
Yeah. It's a party.
Yeah.
It's an E-party.
It sure is.
Not ecstasy.
Well, could be.
Our first episode of It All Clicks. E-party.
You sneak your way up in a fun sequence while Tommy is trying to snipe you. I really like this segment.
Yeah, this was cool.
Yeah. And Tommy starts attracting infected to your location as well, which is also neat. He's like shooting things that make noise. And then Manny gets his face exploded all over Abby's face.
Insane.
It's fucking gross.
Extremely gory. Not feeling so bad about that dog situation now, are you, gamer?
Tommy and Abby fight, but with Yara's help, she pushes him into the water, and they grab a boat. And we get our first glimpse of Haven, which is pretty sick, a neat new environment with, like, colonial-era housing.
Yeah.
And the attack has begun, so they're going to cut through the logging camp. You also get a fun look at the Space Needle there, which I like.
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
Now, you do make it to Yara's home, and you find her mom dead, with Lev cowering in the corner, covered in knife slashes. While defending himself, Lev shoved her, and she hit the table, and now he is racked with guilt.
This is the gameplay I think I was describing earlier on accident.
Oh, the logging camp? Is that
the log camp and stuff,
see.
where you're like in the bushes and doing like bush sniping, basically.
Yeah.
This sequence is really fun to play.
Yeah, it's cool as hell. And it's, again, just like a cool new environment.
Exactly.
You're so used to working through these like big skyscraper ruins and everything.
Yep, or like basements.
A wolf stabs Yara on the way out, and Abby is confronted by Isaac. He refuses to listen and is about to shoot Abby to get at Lev, but Yara on the ground shoots his ass. One last bit of protection.
That was cool.
Great little moment for Yara.
Absolutely.
Abby says she and Lev are in this together now, and they got to fight their way out. It's wild to see Haven now alight with flames as they head for the boats. And another great horse sequence.
Yep.
This is the first time you get to really like open up speed-wise on one of the horses.
Yeah.
And you get to shoot from on top of there too.
Another, like what you were saying earlier, like the level starts and like I think one of the first things you do is like, here's all your ammo. And it's like, oh, fuck.
You do get another boss fight at the docks as someone from the Seraphites stops fighting wolves long enough to yell and try and kill Lev.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool moment. Very nasty with the facial wounds. His scars are opened up.
Oh, God, I forgot about. Yep, I know what you're talking about.
It's fucking nasty. And they get on the boat. They head back to the aquarium. Starts out finding Alice murdered. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, I remember doing that. Uh-oh.
Yep.
It's exactly what you fear. And you find the bodies of Mel and Owen lying there, mangled. Ellie!
Wow.
Lev finds the map that Ellie dropped, which leads you both to the theater where you burst in. It's wild and it's cool that they make you play this the other side. You know how it plays out.
Yep.
And you just wish you could change the thing you already know. You're like, how can I get them to talk it out?
Yeah.
Can't happen.
And it's at a movie theater. Come on.
Ugh.
This rocks.
It really does. You follow Ellie backstage, and you both beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
Dina comes and slashes the shit out of Abby, but Lev shoots her through the shoulder with an arrow, letting Abby get the upper hand. And when Ellie pleads not to kill her, that she had nothing to do with this and is pregnant, Abby sneers good and is about to cut her throat when Lev stops her. Wow.
Like the Rat King, I was also extremely stressed out during this sequence as well. Another like, oh my gosh, it's all happening, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a moment where you're like, she's on the edge. She is on the edge, about to fall off. She's literally about to, in cold blood, kill this pregnant woman. Like, say what you will, at least Ellie didn't know explicitly.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. She feels horrible because she learns after the fact.
Yeah.
Abby she knows what she's about to do.
Right. And so we're all very grateful that Lev stops her. And she says, don't ever let me see you again.
Yeah. Partner.
There's a nice time jump here. You're on a secluded farmhouse. Dina had the baby. It's named JJ, presumably Jesse Jr.
Or Abrams.
Oh, wow. Or that. I was thinking the alternate might have been Joel something,
yes.
but...
Joel.
No, I think you're right. It's Joel. No, I think it's JJ Abrams, actually. I think you were right. And... So this is what I was saying before, because so you're living together very happily here. I understand it's not the story that they wanted to tell, but I personally would have found it very narratively satisfying if she grew here, she learned to let go, she stayed with Dina, and if it ended with them on the farm, I'd have loved that, because you get to soak up what they gained by letting go. This moment where she's on the tractor.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, yep. she's taking care of JJ. There's the beautiful sunset, and you really I truly thought it was the end. I thought it was like, oh wow, they learned to let go. She saw that Abby let go.
Yep.
And she learned to do it as well, and now they get to live out their lives instead of this anger and pain that they were inflicting on each other. And it's partially just because I like the character.
Me too.
And it's like part of what
you want you want it to be a happy ending.
Exactly. And when instead this literal and metaphorical storm picks up. Yeah.
You know, as we're talking about it, even though I think the ending is awesome, I did not like this almost like epilogue. It feels like the next, whatever, is it like 5 hours probably you play after? 30 minutes for me. Just kidding. But that feels so intentional, right? That there's this beautiful house, the baby's there and everything. And then it's like, it's such a fucking switch because you feel like, wow, the game's about to end. And then it's like, it's like, I got to go to Santa Barbara, right? You're like, no. You have it all. You have it. Stay with what you have. This almost feels like the beginning of a game, or like this would have been the beginning of Last of Us Part 3.
The DLC.
Yeah, exactly. But instead it continues. And so I was I was like annoyed at this because I was like, no, this is how the game was supposed to end.
Yeah.
And then it continues and it is good and I do enjoy it. But I definitely went into this like first hour of Santa Barbara like annoyed.
Yeah.
Annoyed because Ellie like chose to risk this life that she, it seems like, was potentially like fighting to have.
Exactly. It feels like this is what she had been fighting for the whole time. But on the other hand, you know, you talked about how she has this trauma and everything, and they're all just trying to navigate that.
Yeah.
You see how it is still affecting her. You know, she has this panic attack in the barn when she gets trapped there.
Yeah.
She still hears Joel trapped behind the door screaming for her, and she can't get to him.
You don't get to turn it off. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so when Tommy comes to visit, which first of all, can't believe he's alive, although he has looked better.
Yes.
Say.
Yeah, that was pretty shocking.
But again, he's chirping in her ear. He's the bad influence.
Mm-hmm.
He's not with Maria anymore. And reading between the lines, you can see that it's because he is also still obsessed with revenge.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's there to tell Ellie about another lead on Abby. And when Dina freaks out, understandably so, Tommy says, I reckon it's easy to forget about her all comfortable out here. And I can understand there being that guilt as well, where like Tommy gave up so much to help Ellie on her desire for revenge. And then she comes home and gets to live with Dina. And meanwhile, Tommy is injured and didn't actually even get to, like, they didn't get Abby. It's easy to see, even though it is very fucked up and I don't agree with it, I can understand where he's coming from.
Remind me, Tommy is Joel's brother, right?
Right.
And so I think maybe that is part of it too, of like, he is literally my family. Whereas he like was a father figure to you, this man was literally my brother who was killed. Mm-hmm. And so similar to what we were just talking about, like, I'm sure this will never leave me and I will never feel happy until I get true revenge.
Right.
Yeah, that line's pretty brutal, right? Of the like, yeah, I get it. You're happy here. You feel like you've done your part. You know, it's not over for me, but, you know, good for you. You're happy. It's so condescending. It's great.
And it's even more fucked up because he can't go with all of his wounds.
Yeah.
So he is literally just trying to send Ellie in his place.
It is the most clear enabling a character has ever done.
Yeah, she made me a promise, he says.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Dina sends Tommy away, but he got in Ellie's head. Her journal reveals some of the freshness of the wound still as you read it. And while playing some guitar, we flash back to the dance scene that kicked off the conflict at the beginning. Her first kiss with Dina now flushed down the drain as she leaves to go chase Resolution despite Dina's pleas. So powerful.
And Dina, remind me, does Dina see her leave or does she just like sneak out?
No, she does see her leave,
Yeah.
and she begs her to stay, and she says, I have to do this.
Oh,
and
God.
out she goes.
Yep.
And she says, like, I can't wait. Like, I can't do this again. I
Yeah.
can't sit here and wait for you to wondering if you're coming back.
So heavy.
Yep.
Which is so wild that this is like, we are in like the last 5% of the game. It's funny. And honestly, you're on Dina's side because you're like, we did it. This is the happy ending. Like, what are you fucking doing?
Yep.
It's great.
I agree. We check back in with newly haired Lev and Abby, now looking for fireflies, who they managed to communicate with over a radio. 200 strong and more every month, they say. And I love the performance for Abby here, where you hear the desperation in her voice when it seems like there's nobody on the other side of the radio. And like oh God, all of this was for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Really great. But they do a little testing of Abby, but she identifies as a firefly herself, not a wolf. And she says she was a member of the Salt Lake Outpost. So they say, get to Catalina Island and we'll find you. Unfortunately, when they emerge from the house, they're attacked by the Santa Barbara Rattlers.
These dudes rock.
That's another fun gang name.
I will say, this was such a roller coaster because I was like, this game should be fucking over. And then this happens and I'm like, I'm in.
Damn you, Rattlers.
When they introduced this guy, this big dude, I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, this is cool as hell.
It's really cool. It's also Abby's pleading with them not to touch Lev is a clear mirroring of Ellie at the beginning. So again, they're still playing with that reflection aspect. And speaking of Ellie, she's on their trail.
Yep.
Ellie finds the boat. She climbs up the cliff after them. She clears out infected until she gets caught in a hunting snare, with the momentum throwing her into a sharp branch and stabbing her in the ribs while she swings upside down. Not ideal.
No. There's several moments that like stick out to me as these highlights throughout the game. This is one of them. This like her upside down stabbed and then how she gets out of it too.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 3 or 4 different clips I'm going to watch after this recording and that's one of them.
So she's collected by some of the Rattlers, but she gets an upper hand on them and a silenced submachine gun, which rocks.
Yeah.
Along with some info about where they're keeping Abby and Lev.
Yeah, the silent sub, it's one of the cool and practical weapons that's like, of course they give you this the last hour of the game because it's like, this is like God mode.
It really is. You just get to tear through the Rattlers on the way to them.
Yep.
Really cool level. Again, just a nice environment shift, new building styles and everything. You free the infected that they have chained up as well, which is a nice
That's
cool
fun
mechanic.
Yeah.
The prisoners that the Rattlers were holding get freed, but Abby tried to escape and was punished with some time at the pillars. The revolution is on, though, and while the Rattlers are distracted, you head down to the beach, finding lots of strung-up corpses on the beams in the sand, plus Abby.
Christ-like poses, horrifying.
Very much so, yes, absolutely. And she's still holding on somehow, but just barely. You cut her down, she goes for Lev, and Ellie, watches in disbelief. You both head for the boats, and for 1 second, it looks like you might just both go your separate ways.
Yeah.
She's just in such disbelief at the state of Abby that she's just like, maybe I just let them go.
Yeah, because she's like, this isn't fair. This person is about to die anyway.
But there's a moment here that I don't know that it clicked quite as much the first time, but playing through it, watching this scene again, when she feels her blood seeping out, she reaches down to her ribs and pulls her hand away and sees the blood and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you just see her think of everything that she's given up for this moment.
Yeah.
And so she realizes that I can't have given that all up for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And she attacks Abby from behind.
Mm-hmm.
And Abby's reluctance and all of these emotions being compressed into this fight scene it's just so powerful. I mean, Ellie is literally threatening to kill Lev in order to just get this fight out of Abby. Like, nobody really wants to do it.
Yeah. And it's so cinematic. They're like 2 feet in the water, the backdrop of the ocean and stuff.
It's really great. Despite her time on the pillars, Abby is strong as hell.
Yeah.
And the fight is very tough.
She's still Abby.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of why it makes it a good battle, is like she is extremely weak, but she's Abby. And, you know, Ellie did get like stabbed, but she is definitely like wasn't strung up on pillars for who knows how long. So
right.
You do kind of see the evenness of this, that it doesn't feel like if they're both healthy, Abby's going to crush her, no question. But they both are weak in different ways. So it does feel realistic that it would be an even match.
Ellie holds Abby underwater. Abby bites off 2 of Ellie's fingers, but can't get up until Ellie lets go. Again, literally and metaphorically, she sees an image of Joel playing guitar, and she starts weeping, and she tells Abby to just take Lev, which she does as Ellie sits in the water, completely isolated emotionally and physically. And originally, Ellie did kill Abby, then would go back to the farmhouse and be tortured, then spared by a relative of somebody that Ellie had killed. There's always a relative to come after you. But Druckmann thought that while that made sense for the themes, it focused too heavily on those instead of the characters and didn't represent Ellie's remaining goodness honestly. He thinks that there is still some light in her.
Yeah.
So instead, they wanted players to support both and feel that futility, which I think they absolutely accomplish.
Absolutely. I think it's the right choice because, like we were just talking about with Tommy feels like he won't be happy until Abby dies. Like, it's just like a 1-to-1. You killed my brother, so I need to kill you. And Ellie is, I don't want to say deeper than that, but like, she realizes as Abby is biting her fingers off, this isn't what I need to feel satisfied in my life.
Yeah.
And so I know killing you, and I know I can kill you. I've killed hundreds of people in the last month, even week probably. I guess she was, or let's just say in the last
she had the baby,
10 minutes. So. I have no issue. I have no qualms killing anyone or anything.
Yeah.
So this isn't a matter of can I do it? It's will killing you help me?
Yeah.
And make me feel complete in a way that I've been searching for. And I think the realization, is the realization. I think realizing, oh wait, this isn't the solution. And I think realizing that is the solution. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense. It sounds too heady, and stupid, but I do think her realizing in that moment, I don't need this.
Yeah.
Is the ending,
Yeah. This isn't feeling good. Like, I'm not, the pit in my soul is not being filled by this murder. And I just feel bad, worse than I did.
And she could still kill her anyway. Like, this isn't it. I'm still going to go through with this. But like we've said, she is a good person. So realizing that, she's going to be like, just get out of here. I came all the way here just to kill you. And I realized in this moment, that's not going to make me happy. So just go.
She returns to the farmhouse to find it empty except for some records and her guitar, which she plays a little bit and remembers Joel. And she thinks back to confronting him again. She says, my life would have mattered, and you took that from me when he didn't let her die at the hospital. And this is when he says, I would do it again, because your life does matter to me, is the implication there. Mm-hmm. And she says she doesn't know if she can forgive him, but she'd like to try. And of course, this is easily applicable to the Abby situation as well.
Yep.
You always have to work at forgiveness. It's obviously a lot harder than looking for revenge and being angry, but that's poison. That makes you feel worse. Mm-hmm. And working at forgiveness, forgiveness is divine, they say. So
yeah,
I just think that it is a really powerful moment, and seeing that this is the final gift that Joel gave her, I think is saving her life once more,
It does feel like without saying it, you'll understand when you're older. And then she's sitting there like, I understand now. Like, yes, I'm older. Applying exactly what happened with you and how you felt toward me in my own life.
And Ellie rests the guitar against the windowsill. She's ready to move on. Of course, the windowsill is the iconic menu image of the first one, so it is very fitting for that to be the bookend.
So fucking cool, by the way. That was awesome.
Love that. Love that. And once the game is beaten, Kurt Margineau pointed out that the menu changes to the boat from their confrontation beached in front of the Catalina Casino.
Yep.
And so it's like an Easter egg. It's meant to be this final uplifting note. The people on the radio were really fireflies, and these two made it. So good for them.
It's so cool.
It really is. And now, Kevin, we've finally reached the part of the episode where we don't have to say why this is the best game ever made or the best horror game ever made or anything, but we do talk about why it is interesting and why it deserved to be talked about here on this episode. And I'm going to let you start.
I've never had an experience with a video game like this where I might say it's my favorite video game of all time. It just when I started and as the story started to roll out, I knew sitting there that I had to finish it like as soon as possible because I knew I had almost never seen a story told like this before. I loved all these characters and how they were all going through hyper specific and painful experiences, and they were trying to find the end of that journey so that they can find happiness. In everyone, of the like 20 plus characters that we're introduced to, happiness is not one catch-all thing. It's not just survive. It's so many different things. And what's so unique about this game is you want to know what all 20 of those characters are going to choose. So it's not just like going back and forth between Abby and Ellie. It's the like 18 other NPCs who are going through these extremely raw experiences that you care about, like you genuinely care about. It came out at a time where we were in the thick of our own global pandemic, watching people live through an apocalypse, a zombie apocalypse, and a lot of them are just looking for love. They're just looking to love and to be loved, which is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And not all of that love, by the way, is love of another person. It's loving of yourself. And I think that, that is extremely relatable too, to everybody. It's one of the most unique storytelling experiences I've ever taken in. And it helps a lot to have played part one. I think it's challenging going into this not knowing what it truly is a part two. So I highly recommend, if you're interested in it, play part one. You'll have a much deeper appreciation for part two. It's powerful, man. It's a very powerful game.
I agree. This is, to me, a very interesting game, worthy of discussion. Possibly my favorite horror game of all time.
Yeah.
Certainly in the discussion. Because it is so not just emotionally impactful and not just buttery smooth gameplay.
Yep.
But both of these things together in a way that complements each other.
Totally.
The gameplay is aided by boosting the story.
Yeah.
The way that you play feels like the characters, and it helps you to immerse in the world. And the fact that that world is so complicated and so dark, but also so beautiful. You talked about how all these characters are looking for love, and I think that that's really great. I also love just that we talked about it in terms of like why it's good, like why it's scary, but not overwhelmingly so. And I think that those moments that it takes to breathe, that you get to wander around outside and take in like beautiful sunsets and stuff, that it's not just interested in scaring you.
Yeah.
Is indicative of the care and general interest in making a well-rounded piece of art that went into the game overall. It's such a beautiful follow-up to the original. And yeah, it is a part two in the truest sense of the word, in that it feels like a normal, natural continuation of the first one. You'll have a deeper appreciation and understanding of this one if you play the first one, even though it does, I think, have plenty of legs to stand on its own. But just coming to it with these characters that you've been on a literal journey across the globe with, not the globe, across America with, is so heart-wrenching. All of the pain that they go through and the emotional beats that they feel, you feel too. And then for them to flip that on you and say, now you play as the murderer. Now you see how they're human beings as well and just trying to survive in this world. It's a wholly unique thing that they've managed to accomplish here. And it's something that movies struggle to do.
I was going to say, like, this came out, I think, around the time the Joker movie came out. So, like, people attempt this a lot and do it and cannot execute it. Like, they have the idea and then just can't. They try to make it seem too cool. And then it's just like, I don't care. Why did you do this?
Yeah.
This is one of the few examples of, like, we're going to flip this and you're going to, like, struggle with how you, like, have empathy for them.
And that's the beauty of video games as a storytelling medium.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that we are there to spend, probably I would say that going through slowly and exploring, you're probably looking at like a 60-hour game.
Yeah.
For this.
Yep.
That's a lot of time to spend with people. And when you add that onto The Last of Us 1, which is also not the shortest game in the world, you know, you've spent a lot of time with these characters. And so those narrative moments are that much more impactful. You know, as much as I love short form storytelling, I think that it is generally more interesting than TV, just because I like having to get in and get out. When I want something that is the opposite direction, it helps for there to be these video games that are still incredibly cinematic.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a TV show where you're spending that time with these characters because of filler. This feels like an incredibly scripted movie that just happens to be 60 hours long.
Yeah.
And I think that that's part of what makes it so great. You love the characters, you love the game, and it just all works in complete harmony.
I didn't really think about that I mean, we have talked about it a little bit, but just like how you just said it, of like the gameplay and like literally the weapons, like shaping the story and the character, like the weapons shaping the characters or reflecting the characters that reflect the bigger story being told, like how everything is intertwined. Like a lot of other games are just like, okay, this is the thing and this is what you're doing. And you don't really like think about it that much, but like the amount of detail that goes into like the smallest things is just like it truly all is like intertwined in a very impressive way.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it was such a great game worthy of discussion and a spotlight episode. Kevin, I want to thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Thank you.
Please tell the people where they can check out your work. I know there's a big project that you've been working on that you want to tell everyone about.
That's right.
Now's the time, baby.
Awesome. I have been working on and off for like 8 months now on this video project that is a very long review of a fake podcast I made with my friends. My friend Harry, who showed me God of War, and my friend Sarah, who Harry introduced me to earlier this year. They both work in the podcast world as well, and I am a fan of this YouTuber who reviews video games named Tim Rogers. He does these 8 to 10 hours sometimes reviews of a video game. Kind of the joke is, not joke, but like it's wild how long they are. Right. I've done reviews of fake podcasts before, like on Twitch. I've done it on Tawny Newsom and Andrew T's Suboptimal Bundle content, where I've made trailers of fake podcasts and like seriously reviewed them. It was a lot of fun, and I always wanted to do it, but with like a real podcast. Not a real podcast, with like create a quote unquote podcast for the sake of reviewing it. Right. So kind of combining those ideas of like a longer, more thorough review, and then actually creating a quote unquote show for the sake of the review. So I have been writing a very long script that is a podcast hosted by Harry and Sarah about a very short-lived TV show, and it's kind of the trials and tribulations, the ups and downs of their experience hosting a podcast. With my experience in podcasting, I think I was able to write at times very accurate and real problems that podcasters go through, and then also take some experiences and then just completely blow them up and make them extremely unrealistic in a way that I found very entertaining and fun. So basically, if you're confused, which people have been as I've described this, that show is told through the lens of me reviewing it at this desk that I'm sitting at right now. So the goal is to release this part 1 of this 2-part series Monday, December 19th. I just finished filming everything this morning, and I've been editing the footage that I filmed earlier already. So
wow, hot off the presses.
Yes, it is. So I'm hoping to have everything edited by Monday the 19th, which would be when I release it. So part 1 will be available on YouTube for everybody. It'll be on the Flagrant Ones Patreon. Also, I'll be posting it on my Twitter, Kevin J. Bartelt, and my Instagram, Kevin J. Bartelt, so you can find it there. Part 2 is going to be on the Flagrant Ones Patreon page. So I have never spent so much time on a single project before, which I think is why I wanted to do it as well. You know, I make a lot of ephemeral content that's like, we make it up as we go, and then we hit print, and then the next day we do it again. And so I really wanted to challenge myself and spend truly months and months on a single project. And it's been very cathartic. Unwisely so, I was up till 4:30 in the morning last night, knowing I had to get up at 7, editing it, because I was just having so much fun working on it. And it's been kind of this adrenaline rush. And so I'd be really grateful if listeners, if you checked it out. I've spent a lot of time on it. Yep. So I'll be posting it on Twitter and Instagram, and you can check it out there. Hopefully Monday, December 19th. I haven't said the name yet, but I guess I will spoil it. It's called Where the Potty At. Poddy. So keep an eye out for that. Hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, I really hope it does, Monday, December 19th.
I cannot wait. That sounds absolutely incredible. And this is, I think, part of what is so exciting about the Flagrant Ones Patreon, is that you guys get to do this kind of more exploratory stuff where, you know, this scripted stuff, like you said, is not necessarily right in the wheelhouse of what the Flagrant family's bread and butter had been for a long time.
For sure.
So really cool to see this expansion in a really interesting way. I look forward to checking it out.
Well, full disclosure, I did not ask the guys if I could do this. I kind of just told them one day that it was happening because I knew they would be more confused, if anything. But hopefully they enjoy it, because I kind of just announced it one day.
And that's what I love about it, too. I also want to encourage people to just check out the Flagrant family of podcasts in general. Kevin is very funny on them, as all of the other hosts are always great as well. So definitely check those out. As far as my plugs, you're already a patron, so you are probably doing everything. And I'll just use my plug time to go say I am also really looking forward to this project. So
thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show again.
Absolutely. And thank you for giving so much of your time to talk about
Hey, this game rocks. It was not hard at all to do.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.